The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
Thank you so much for downloading this episode of So What Do You Really Do, the podcast where I, your host, Deadair Dennis Maler, speak with artists and entertainers about their day job, and I'm so excited. I could not be any more excited about in podcasts because I'm doing the entire month of June. All my guests on podcasts are going to be people from the radio business. My cohorts, my friends, people I've worked with, people who have worked at competitive stations, people that I know that work in radio. That is going to be all month long. And I can't be any more happy to kick this month off with today's desk. And I couldn't be any more happy to kick this month off talking to radio professionals than doing it with my friend, Joanna Campbell. Some of you may know her as Josie or Joe. We go into the podcast. We talk about this exact thing where I've known her for a couple of years from my neighborhood and from listening to her on WHFS, which is a station I grew up listening to. It was a heritage alternative rock station in Baltimore growing up. Well, DC. It was DC, but it was very powerful. We listened to it in Baltimore. And the station was located in between, and we talk about that in this. And listened to her on that, and then becoming friends with her when I was in my mid-20s, when we were introduced, hanging out at the same bar, and we have mutual friends, and we've hung out at a lot of events in Baltimore before I moved up here to Boston because we would go to a lot of the same things and have fun, and we're huge drinkers. So we were all pretty much just drunk all the time. This podcast I actually did with her when I was in Baltimore for Charm City Comedy Festival in May. Just before my 35th birthday, so I got to sit down and do this, and I recorded it on a Zoom H6n, which is a new recorder. And god damn, is it a beautiful machine? I know I get heavy into tech talk on this thing. If that's your thing, it's totally my thing. I love it. The thing was beautiful. It sounds pretty good just turning the mics on, setting it down. Like I literally just turned it on, hit record, sat it down, and then we were running and rock and roll. And I do have to thank my buddy up here, Con Williams. He's an Australian guy who moved here to Boston to do comedy. So I have to thank him for lending it to me while I was in Baltimore, for borrowing it from him for a week. Just to do some of these interviews that you're going to be hearing in the next. Well, actually, it was Josie. Josie was the only one. One of my other guests, I was supposed to record with him, and then our schedules didn't coincide. But next week, when I release that podcast, you'll hear all about that one, because we'll explain it on that. And so we got the podcast done. We just didn't do it when we were face to face in town together. We had to do it over the phone. But Joe. She's an amazing person. She's great. She's funny. She's warm and welcome. She's a dynamite talent in radio. She's been doing it, God, longer than I have. And I've been doing this, if I'm 35, I started at 18. That's what, 17 years? Basically, I think 17 years this fall. So 16 years now, almost 17 years I've been doing radio. You know, that includes college and internet radio. God damn, that's a long time to be doing something, isn't it? So, yeah, she worked at WHFS, with a station that I loved, and then they took it away, and then they brought it back, and it's there again, but nowhere nearly what it used to be. So, the funny thing about this, like, Joe and I will go, you'll hear Joe and I talk about the names that we use on air, radio names and stuff like that. And you'll hear me talk about this, but I'll just go explain a little more. When I started an internet radio show, I went as Bruce Brody because I hated my name. Now I'm Deadair Dennis. But something that happened very recently, and I was going to write a blog about it, and I just didn't get around to it. I really need to write more. Facebook suspended me because they didn't believe Deadair Dennis was my name, which is not. Legally, Deadair is not my name. And it was an annoying, 6 hours of my day. I don't know if somebody reported me, if they came across that. I don't know what happened. I think what happened, all right, this is what happened. I think I know what happened. I was in an argument on Facebook. A buddy of mine made a joke about, hey, is it okay if we spoil Star Wars for The Force Awakens? Can we have a public discussion about this now on Facebook? And of course people were like, no, spoiler alert, you can't have this, I haven't seen it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, it's been 3 months. If you haven't seen the movie, you're not a fan. Sorry. I don't care what your schedule is, you're not a fan. So, Han Solo, spoiler alert for anybody who's listening to this, fuck you, no spoiler alert. Kylo Ren kills Han Solo. That is what I posted that in the thing, and people lost their shit, complaining, screaming that I might as well have murdered a baby in public and then ate it. That's how mad they got at me. And I think one of his friends reported me to Facebook saying that my name wasn't real. And that's where this all started. Luckily, by the end of the day, I started researching this whole thing because a lot of people are having this problem. A lot of people in the LGBT community, transsexuals, and people who are people who dress in drag, they have lots of Facebook accounts. Oh, dude, even burlesque people, I know a lot of people who have burlesque have Facebook accounts dedicated to their burlesque names. And a lot of them, especially people who are going through transgender issues, who are transitioning from man to woman, man, or cat to dolphin, whatever it is that somebody wants to do, they're having issues with Facebook suspending their accounts because they're like, that is not your legal name. And that, for them, it's a terrible thing for them to do. Granted, I'm just a dipshit that tells dick jokes at night and occasionally used to be able to say mean, dumb things about pop culture on the radio. I don't need to defend my marketing brand of Deadair Dennis anywhere, but at the same time, it's an annoyance. I have business cards. I have a thing that I'm doing, and an image almost to uphold. I just did a show in Pelham, New Hampshire the other night, and it was good. It was a great show. Small crowd, but they were in it to laugh, and that's great. It was a really cool place. It was a comedy show at a cigar bar, and I actually was surrounded by people smoking hookahs, smoking cigars, smoking cigarettes, and I am now today 10 weeks without a cigarette and did not have one while I was at the show. Like, all my smoking was done secondhand, which was maybe not as much of an accomplishment that I'm making it, but I'm gonna take it as a win regardless. So, but at the show, my buddy Dana J. Bine, who is a comedian, who is going to be on this show sooner or later, because I want to talk to him about some of the jobs that he has done, because he's done a lot of jobs and he's been doing comedy for a long time. He actually complimented me, saying that I do a great job marketing myself to people, and I took it as a compliment because it was meant to be a compliment, but I didn't know if it was. I don't really think that's a compliment. It's like, you do a really good job selling yourself to people, and I'm like, but do I? I don't know. Because I think I do a good job just from being in radio and whatnot, just promoting other things. And I can go, oh, hey, thank you for when somebody says, hey, great set, you were funny, whatever, this or that. I learned to take that genuine instead of telling somebody when somebody says, oh, great job. Then I was like, oh, no, that was nothing. That was terrible. I started learning to take that compliment personally. And one of the things that I've done is say, thank you. That makes me feel really good that you said that. Validating their opinion, because when you deny it, it makes them feel bad. So I'm trying to accept people's compliments genuinely, which is a hard thing to do. It makes me feel very uncomfortable, but I'm doing it. So I was talking to some people after my set, handing out cards like, hey, by the way, I also have a podcast. Here's the link. Check it out sometime, blah, blah, blah. I can do that. I can talk to strangers all day long. I have no problems with that. Part of the game of comedy is also marketing yourself to other comedians, because they're the ones who book shows. They're the ones who are going to recommend you for shows to bookers, to people who aren't comedians who are booking shows, They're the ones who are going to get you on the work. So you need to be as promotional to them as you do to an audience, because you need an audience to show up, but you also need the comedians to book you. I don't do a great job with marketing myself to comedians because we all know each other. So you don't want to sell yourself to them. And I hate when somebody's tried to sell themselves to me, So... it's like, hey, we're on the same level, one-on-one, let's talk. So I've been working on building this persona that is Deadair Dennis. Persona is probably not the right word, but it's the only word that applies to the situation. So it's been working out pretty well. It's nice that somebody that can look at somebody who has as much experience doing comedy as Dana does, who's been doing it probably twice as long as I've been doing comedy, to say that, dude, you do a good job of talking to people after the show and tell them like, hey, thank you, and here's where you can see more from me. I don't know if it's working, but probably not working. I should know that it's not working. Are people showing up my shows? Are they reading my tweets? I don't know. We talk about him in the podcast, Josie and I do. We talk about our friend Spam, who was also, again, somebody I listened at WHFS and then became friends with from hanging out in the neighborhood. He once told me that reaction on Twitter is not a conducive way of knowing what your reaction is to Twitter. Like, you don't know how many, more people are reading your tweets than they are reacting to your tweets. So that's something I've always thought about. Like, just because I tweet something and nobody's replying to it or favoring it or retweeting it, or it doesn't mean they're not seeing it. Especially when it comes to my bosses. I've had so many talks from my bosses in radio, especially in radio, about the things I tweet out. Anyway, it was really great sitting down and talk with Jo, because her and I haven't talked in a long time. We haven't seen each other. We talk on social media. We talk on, we'll Facebook message back and forth about stuff. We'll tweet at each other. We favor each other's tweet, and then we'll tweet. We could do more communicating. But we just don't. I don't know. I got to step up my social media game. I got to get back to the level that I used to do. I don't know. I'm just bored with it. I don't want to put every thought I have that comes through my head out over social media. But I got to create content. That's what we are as entertainers, content creators. So anyway, it was really good seeing her, because not only did I get to see and hang out with her and do a little bit of catching up, I got to check out her new house. I got to see her dogs with their adorable little creatures. You'll hear them in the background whimpering, trying to get in the kitchen to hang out with us. And also I got to see her on TMZ. She's doing correspondence for TMZ. At the time that we did this recording, she had just lost her job at Mix 106.5 radio station in Baltimore. And she was on the hunt for more jobs. She's doing some part-time jobs here and there. She's picked up a job here and there. So it was nice to see that she's in positive spirits. It may not sound like it on the podcast, but knowing her, that's her positive. She's thinking positive, that she's going to get another job. I know for a fact if I lost my job in radio today, that I would never be able to get back into business. Even if I wanted to be, I don't think anybody would hire me. But that's me, and I could be wrong. So anyway. Oh, also real quick, before we get into it, I have to tell you there was a problem with order. It cut off in the middle of us talking, and I just picked up with my iPhone. So there's going to be a slight audio change, a little bit of a jump. You're going to basically hear her talking and not complete her thought, and we're going to circle back to it immediately after. Actually, I'm pretty sure if I didn't tell you, you probably wouldn't have noticed that it happened. I don't know. Maybe you would have, but so that happened. I filled an SD card. That's basically why it cut off. But we only missed a few minutes in the conversation. I quickly found it, quickly noticed it, and then just pulled the iPhone out, finished the conversation, and closed things up. First off, let me just warn you guys, we do a lot of inside baseball talk on this podcast. So we talk deep knowledge and stuff about radio. So this is a really intricate, personable, whatever that word is, discussion about radio and our experience in radio. So I don't want to warn you to turn you off from it. I think it's fascinating, interesting stuff. I hope you do as well. One of the things, though, is like there's a term that we use throughout there, markets. Do I have to explain? Markets or cities? That's what it is, basically. And markets are ranked by population of cities. So the larger city is number 1, which is New York. Number 2 is LA. Chicago's 3. I think Puerto Rico is 4 or whatever it is. I don't know. I can't keep it track of it anymore, but because I don't need to keep track of market size anymore. Boston's like 11 now. It used to be. DC's 9, where I'm from. Baltimore's 22 or 23. So Philadelphia is in the top 10. I think that's number 7, something like that. I don't know. So just to explain that ahead of time, when we use the word markets, when we talk about market 623, that just happens to be the 623rd largest city in America, basically. So anyway, please enjoy this podcast and the beginning of Radio Month here on So What Do You Really Do? My interview, sit down chat with radio personality Joanna Campbell. I'm very, very modern podcast style where it's like, hi, talking, and then you jump right into the recording. So, but, all right, let's talk about the TMZ thing that we just watched. So, we probably should have just recorded what we said. So we'll just recreate the fake conversation we had in the living room. Or we fakely recreate the real conversation we had in the living room for fake times right now. But yeah, because you just did a thing on TMZ this week. Is this your third thing on TMZ?
Fourth.
Fourth?
Third was last week.
Okay, so they're going to you weekly then?
As much as they can. There's a schedule, so I can't Skype in again for another 2 weeks, but I could do the phone thing now. Now I have to wait again.
Yeah, because
a few weeks.
TMZ's on, the TV's right in front of me at work, but the volume's not, because I don't want to listen to it. And plus, we have like 4 different shows going, 4 different local news channels at once. So I see that they have people who Skype in. I never realized they had phone calls either, like people phone calling it in. So what is that you're doing? Like, basically, you're just a TMZ correspondent, I guess. Is that what it is?
Yep. You come in, you just say your name, where you're from, and they give you about 15 seconds to talk about any of the stories they're talking about that day.
How do they get a hold of you? Like, how does that... First off, how did TMZ find you? Because it happened right after you lost your job at Mix, right?
It started before.
Okay, so it started before. All right.
They started to talk to me before, and after I lost my job, I didn't have anybody I needed to ask to do much of anything, so I took advantage of the opportunity, and I've been doing that in my downtime and some freelance stuff, and, just trying to stay busy, looking for the next full-time gig.
All right, well, with the TMZ, when they contacted you, they clearly contacted you because of you working in radio, right?
They contacted me, I think, because I have a blue check mark, which I did get through working radio. But verified
Twitter account.
They hit me up on Twitter and asked if I wanted to. And it says in my little bio that I was, doing radio and a pop culture enthusiast. So I have a friend who does it, and I do wonder if they found me just because I talk to her a lot on Twitter. Mm-hmm. That's really the only thing I could think. Shout out to Kiki Brown, if that's true.
So you don't even know how they contacted you. They just found you and tweeted at you.
One day, out of the blue, they send a tweet and they said, "Hey, you ever want to comment on the show?" It's like, yeah, sure.
No, the people who comment on the show, are they all media personalities, or are they just regular Joe Schmo schmucks?
I have no idea. I think they're just other random people.
Okay, because I don't like. Do you just? Well, I guess since you lost the station, you don't. What do you like when they have you on? Do you plug something like?
No.
Do they just?
No, maybe I should, but I don't.
How do they intro you?
I just say I'm Josie from Baltimore, and I'm here to talk about, like today I talked about Prince.
Yeah.
And then I make my comment. They reply, and they move on. It's weird being on the other end of it because I'm used to taking callers.
Yeah.
So when they started to explain to me, now wait until we say go and you're going to hear a swoosh sound. It was, it was the shtick that how many times have I said that to somebody else? Now somebody's telling me to do that. I don't know if this is a step up or a step back in life. I'm not sure. But hey, it's TV, so I guess it's always forward.
Yeah, it's a step forward. All right. So there's just a producer on the other line, and they do you have to screen your comment with them?
No.
Is it because I know in the days of comedy, especially late night, in late night TV, they used to just contract jobs, monologue jokes out instead of having the writers do them. You could submit. So every day, from what I heard from other people, they would get up, they would write monologue jokes, and then they'd fax them to Tonight Show. And if they got one on, they would just mail them the check. So they would receive a list of all the monologue stuff they're going to talk about, what jokes they want. And then whatever comedians would write their jokes and then fax them in. Is it similar in that regards? Like they send you, do they email you a list of the topics?
I get a topics list. I pick 3. And then they tell me which one they're going to take me for. I hope I'm not spoiling any secrets. I never signed any contracts, so.
No, yeah, they're not even paying
Should be fine.
Oh, no, that's I want to get the real behind this. But no, all right, so they send you, do they do it weekly or every day?
Weekly.
So once a week they'll send you a list of topics. What on
whatever
Tuesday?
day? They'll say, "Are you available today?"
Okay.
Yes or no, or you can defer if you're busy. And I'd like to be busy and be able to defer, but I'm just yeah, whatever. And then they'll say, "Okay, we're going to take you today," and they send you the topics list that day. So whatever you're commenting on is relevant that day because it's a live show.
Do you tell them what your comment's going to be ahead of time? Or do they just say, we trust you enough to make something smart and interesting?
They've never screened my comments.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has ever been screened, but mine hasn't really been screened.
Well, we don't care about other people. We care about you. So, all right.
Okay.
Well, I mean, all right, let's say they come...
I'm not the authority on this.
You're enough of an authority for yourself. So wait, do you tell them Joe or Josie? Josie.
Because it's what all my social media accounts are.
Yeah, well, that's the
Instagram,
weird thing.
Twitter, Snapchat, all Radio Josie. And that came from, at the time that social media was really busy, is when I was working for HFS the second time, when it was at 97.5, and Josie was who I was on HFS. So everything in social media, it still says Josie. So that's what they call me.
Yeah, okay. Because I know you as Joanna, or Joanne, rather.
Yeah, but my name's not Joanne at all.
Weren't you also trying to go as something else for a little while? Like when you came back to Mix, weren't you trying to change your name to just Joe?
It is, yeah. I just used Joe.
Okay.
I couldn't use Joe when
I was... This is the thing. I had 3 names for you in my head at all 3 times.
Because when I started at HFS,
yeah,
I wanted to be Joe. But they said I couldn't be Joe because there was a JoJo who hosted a morning show in Baltimore. Somehow, strangely, on Mix 106.5, which I later went to.
JoJo and Kenny.
Right. So I couldn't be Joe because there was already sort of a Joe thing happening nearby. And so Josie was my college radio name, and that's how I went with that.
Okay.
I know, it's confusing. But here's the best part is everything starts with Joe. So I know...
They're all derivatives of each other.
Everybody who's talking to me. But it is Joanna.
Yeah.
And nobody ever says the, so why bother?
Well, because when I first started doing radio, I had the similar issue. Because when I first started at the internet station that I was doing for college, the first year I was in college, I went by Bruce Brody.
Why?
Because I hate my name, Dennis Maler. It's just dumb,
but
and I love the lyrics.
Bruce what?
Bruce Brody. All right, and this is why. I wanted to go as Brody Bruce, which was... And
the Kardashians weren't a thing then, so where did you even come up with these names?
Bruce Brody, or Brody Bruce was... what's his name's character from Mallrats. Anyway, that was his name, and I want to use that name, and my teacher/program director was like, Brody doesn't sound like a first name, and Bruce is a terrible last name. So I was like, all right, I'll just flip it. How about Bruce Brody? He's like, I don't care, and then walked away.
Okay.
So the first year I was doing the local music show and all the internet stuff I was doing there at that station, I went by Bruce Brody. So there's a series of local Baltimore punk bands that still remember doing a radio show, coming on Bruce Brody's radio show. And then the next year I went back to my name. I went back to my original name because I did. And it was getting difficult trying to make my friends who are already in the punk scene start calling me Bruce. So I decided and I figured that one day I'm going to have to end up using my real name. So I did. And now with the Dead Air thing in comedy and radio, there's people in comedy who refuse to, like, I get so much guff for having the Dead Air in front of my name because they're like, it's not your real name. It's like, yeah, but this is what people know me as. So I've spent a lot of years as different names of myself and catching a lot of shit for it.
I don't actually get a lot of questions. I think it's because everything starts with Joe, so it makes sense.
Yeah, you're all right in the same thing. Like, but mine also gets like, because I have 3 names for you, and every time I refer, like today, I think I said your name. I think I said Joe, Josie, and Joanna 3 different times in front of my mother, because I went to the Jeppy Museum with them today.
We got to talk about that.
We will. I'll show you pictures. It was good.
I've been there.
Good. Oh, have you?
But I saw your pictures as you were posting.
Okay, I didn't know how long that came around until because my mother found it. She knows coming in town. She found a Groupon for it. It's like, let's go do this for your birthday. And so we did.
That's not your mom's accent. She's from Dundalk.
No, that's not even close to my mother's accent. You're right. But my mother...
What?
I have no... I can't even do my... If I pretend my mother's accent sounds like something else, it sounds less annoying in my head.
Okay.
So if I try to accurately do my mother's Dundalk accent, my ears and nose will start bleeding from an aneurysm.
Okay.
But, all right, so back to you on radio. So, where do we start with that? Let's start with when you started in radio, because you started originally here in Baltimore, right? No?
I started in...
Because I knew you right
Central
after you came back. Okay, because I knew you right after you started back at HFS. That's when we met.
Yes. I Bad Decisions for Bacon Night.
No, it wasn't.
No? But I did see you there. Wait, then when did I meet you?
We met while I was hosting for the bands outside of the power plant with JB.
No, I thought I introduced you to JB.
We did it right there.
I thought that was a Bad Decisions. I think we need to talk about how much I was living in Federal Hill at the time.
And how about I was...
My memories are all sort of compacted into one.
Did we meet it... Because we went to Bad Decisions after that.
No.
We did.
No, I'm pretty sure you're backwards, and I'm right.
We started at Bad Decisions,
yes.
Then went, and then... No, I'm pretty sure we met... Did we meet at Bad Decisions? By the way, this is going to be a commercial for John's Bar, essentially. Do we meet at bad decisions, go to the power plant, and then go back to bad decisions then? Because trust me, if you're living fed at home drinking as much, I was living in Fells Point drinking the same amount, copious, every day.
I don't know.
All right.
I plead the fifth. I have no idea.
Let's go with, we met, well, JB, who is our Buddhist priest, kung fu fighting instructor friend.
Yes.
Mutual friend. I met you and him on the same day.
Then that was a bed of decisions, and it was beer and bacon night.
Okay. Did we not go to the power plant afterwards?
I don't know.
Didn't we? Because
No.
I could have sworn it was when I was hosting.
No, you guys went. I didn't go. I went back home.
Did you?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
Because I was with Spam and Rita and all them.
I could have sworn we all went down to the power plant together.
I did not go to power plant.
Okay.
I laughed as you and JB went skipping down the lane, arm in arm. That's why I remember I didn't go to power plant. Because that image is in my head forever.
That sounds about something him and I would do. So.
Yeah. It was a sweet moment.
So, all right. So, at that time, you were already working for HFS.
Yes.
So, prior to that, you started in Central PA.
Yes, in high school.
Okay. You started working at a radio station in high school?
Yes.
What station?
1280 WHVR in Hanover.
So, AM.
And then their sister station, their FM 98 YCR, was 6 months later.
What was their formats?
I was doing Orioles board hopping.
Okay.
And they played like 45s and stuff. It was kind of crazy there. I learned...
They still played vinyl?
Yeah. I learned how to DJ with vinyl.
Late 90s, early 2000s?
97.
97, so if you were in high school, okay.
Yeah. And then, 6 months later on the pop station. And not a lot has changed if you think about it, because I got back into radio through Metro and then started board hopping for Orioles games, but it was the, the flagship station as opposed to...
BAL?
Yeah. No. CBS had it then.
Oh, who was there? Oh, it doesn't matter what
it doesn't matter.
We'll keep saying local radio station numbers, and people go, "Oh, let me look those up," which they won't. But okay,
nobody's going to do that.
So when you so how did you get into it in high school? Because I know enough people because I went to college for it. I knew enough people getting out of college who had enough trouble getting a job, especially even board hopping, which is the second to lowest run on the totem pole.
So there was a career day. My mom's a teacher at high school, and one of the local DJs came in to talk about it. And my mom knew I wanted to be a DJ and went to ask him if I had to go to college or not. Because at the time, I was in this major war with her over, I just wanted to go to BIM. I wanted to be like Robin Quivers, and I wanted to go to BIM, and that's what I want to do. And they're like, you're going to college or you're on your own.
Okay.
So I ended up going to college because they weren't going to pay for me to go to broadcasting school or help me along the way at all. They were like, you do that and you're on your own. Bye. I wasn't ready for that. I was, 17. I wasn't ready to think about that. I graduated at 17, so I wasn't ready to go on my own. So I went to college, but in the meantime...
What college?
York College.
Okay.
I went there because I got a job while I was in high school, so I stayed, basically, so I could keep my radio job. But, so there was a girl in her class whose dad was the PD of the AM station. And so my mom, this DJ, and this girl are all having this conversation now about whether you have to go to college or not. And to prove my mother wrong, this girl has her dad give me a call. I had an hour-long phone conversation with him, and they hired me to board up. Just to prove my mom wrong.
So you knew at a young age you wanted to be in radio? I
knew when I was 9. At least.
At
maybe
9.
Sooner. Yeah.
Because you were listening to Howard Stern, and that was your... Was Howard Stern your into and love to radio?
No, music was. But I became obsessed, I think, with Howard Stern, because it was the one cool thing that any of the local radio had. It was 105.7 had it up there. And it was like that one cool thing where, you would see it, you could hear it, it would be on E the next day or whatever, and it was like, finally, because growing up in Central PA, it's sort of out there. Especially back then, it was really out there, disconnected, so it was something. It was music first.
Yeah, because my music, but it was, for me, getting into radio was music as well, but for me, radio was the only place where I could do music and comedy at the same time. That was the only avenue where those things collided to me. But it was local radio. I never listened to anything syndicated. I don't think we had, at the time when I was in high school, may have been, but I didn't listen to it, a Howard Stern affiliate. So I just barely knew of Howard Stern from other people talking to him. And then when I was around high school at the same time, when E started doing like the 1 hour video of Howard's show, that's the first time I saw Howard Stern. So for me, it was more, I wanted to always to be a local guy. I never thought about radio going nationwide like that.
I would totally love a syndicated deal. First, I need a deal. Then I need to be syndicated. One thing at a time. I know.
But like, I didn't.
I would love a syndicated deal. Are you kidding me?
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, I don't even know if syndication even still it pays the way it used to. Clearly, nothing pays in radio the way it used to. But
no, tell me about it.
The disgusted look of thinking about pay in radio is not going to come over on the audio of this podcast. But I think people understand where we're coming from with that. So you got the job just to prove your mom wrong about it while you were still
in high school.
Started board hopping there, and then when you moved to the pop station, did you know any of the pop? Because we like generally the same band. We're both indie rock fans for the most part.
That was an adjustment for me. I would find like solace in playing Sugar Ray. You know, it would be like, oh, gotta play Britney again. Oh, Justin. Oh, God. NSYNC, Backstreet, whatever. And then it'd be like, oh, but at least I get to play some Sugar Ray. Or at least I got to play Jewel. Or at least there were bright spots. But I was actually at war with Britney Spears personally. We were the same age.
Yeah.
And I got so mad because one of the nighttime DJs was obsessed with her and did the entire back wall and Britney cut out pictures from... And she was like underage.
At Britney's shrine.
Yeah, he had a shrine to Britney and she was underage at the time.
Of course.
And I was working there at the time, so I was taking this like as an attack and like, ew, what's wrong with you? So one weekend shift that I worked like 12 hours, I hand cut and colored Mickey Mouse ears and put custom sized Mickey Mouse ears on each and every picture of her head so that it would be like, dude, she's a kid. Like,
She's
this
a
is
child.
gross. Like, she's Mickey Mouse Club. Stop.
Yeah.
He was so livid. It was one of the best pranks I think I've ever done. It's hard to top that one. Because it messed up some of the pictures when he took the ears off, and he got really upset about that.
Oh, good.
Like, that was from Teen Beat. I was like, what?
So just here's a pictorial shrine of a 16-year-old girl.
Yes, and I was disgusted as a 16-year-old girl that was there. And
I'm a 35-year-old man, and it disgusts me.
he was about 35 at the time. If it makes you feel any better?
No.
Okay, just
that makes me feel worse.
Just checking.
That made me feel sicker.
Oh, sorry.
So you don't have any like. You didn't like any of the music on the station. Are you comfortable playing music being on a station that you don't like the format?
I've come to
You've done a
appreciate
couple
everything.
You have to. Yeah.
I've come to appreciate everything, and when you see how things tie together, like you listen to a country song and they name drop Tom Petty and Bob Seger and blah blah blah, and it's like everybody's listening to the same thing. Those lines are all imaginary, especially now when you can customize your own channels online to listen to something. A lot of those lines don't really matter. I did a story last night on my country show that airs Monday through Friday on the Eastern Shore.
Is that the new one that you picked up?
That's Bay Country 97.9.
Where do you do that from?
The room next door.
Do you have a studio here in the house?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have to see that before we go. I thought I was getting a tour, but the tour came to the kitchen. I was like, all right, let's just start recording.
Yeah. We'll look at that after.
All right, yeah.
So, yeah, there was a story. It was about Jake Owen inspiring Mike Posner to write I Took a Pill in Ibiza because they met at
Posner?
Posner. Yeah.
Is it Posner or Posner?
I think it's actually Posner.
Okay.
But everybody says it wrong.
Do
Everybody
they?
says whatever they want. I think it's Posner.
Okay, because I think I knew it as Posner because I remember the first time I heard about him, Styles asked me to tweet at him from the club event because I guess Chris Styles from who I used to work with at the club events,
right?
Kiss, and now we used to be hot together. Now I think he's at Kiss, and I think he's doing what's the Spanish station, El Zol?
Really?
I think he's doing mixes for both those stations now.
Interesting.
I'm just guessing that from the tweet. I should actually call him and talk to him, especially since he had a second kid. But the point was, Mike Posner's record label sent him the new single early, and he started spinning it in the club on the air. He was like, tweet at them so they know that I played it. So I used to Like, when Twitter first started, I used to write a majority of his tweets from the club. Not in general, just when we're at the club. He's like, he would just hand me his iPhone. I was like, here, start writing some tweets. Make them funny. And then, of course, when I started my own Twitter and Twitter took off, we essentially just would tweet at each other from the club events because we had enough fun doing that. But
yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Inspired by Jake Owen because they had some conversation about the truth in country music. And so Mike wrote a story that was the truth. He took a pill to Ibiza, and it's like they're feeding, country and pop are sort of feeding off each other a lot right now. So I don't even know what kind of line there is. If there's something like Snoop Dogg wanting to do something with Florida Georgia line, I mean, it's crazy what's going on. Doesn't even make any sense. So you just appreciate a good song and a good hook. And there's some things that I like. There's some things I don't like. There's some things like Britney Spears that now I look back on her fondly. Yeah.
Well, there's also something nostalgic about music with certain things. Even if you hated a song, when you hear it, you remember of things from that time. So there's always that. When I started doing the club events, I realized real quickly that I needed to just learn to appreciate all music. And that no one will ever look at a song the same way as I did. Otherwise, I would have driven myself crazy playing top 40 and hip-hop, pop music and hip-hop for 7 years in a club.
Yeah, I had to let it go. I had to let go and just listen. So, no, it doesn't bother me. But if it comes to, like, what concerts I pay tickets for and what concerts, maybe it's also prices. A $20 ticket to go out to the auto bar is one thing. $80 to go to an arena show is another, just in general.
Yeah.
So when it comes to what I do, I'll still go out to the rock shows or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But, if a ticket to see Rihanna falls in my lap, I'm taking it.
Oh, yeah. I will never let a free ticket go to waste.
Amen.
I just found out a buddy of mine in Boston went to go see Clutch.
Yes.
Who they apparently come up to Boston a couple times a year. And I was like, I moved 400 bands away from that city, and this band is still following me there. I'm not a Clutch fan.
Oh, sorry.
I don't hate them. I just don't care.
Okay.
So he went to the thing, and he had a ticket, and nobody claimed it. And I was like, if I knew nobody was going to claim it, I would have just gone I would have gone with you to the show instead of telling dick jokes at an open mic.
Yeah, if there was a free Clutch ticket, I would have grabbed that in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Well, it was Clutch and Lamb of God.
Yeah, even more so.
If I had realized it was Lamb of God, I probably would have jumped on it faster. But I saw it afterwards, and I was like, I hate seeing anything go to waste. Even if it was a ticket to something I didn't like, just for the experience, I might go, unless it's something I hate. Like, if somebody said, we got a free Britney Spears ticket, do you want to go, Dennis? I'm like, okay. If no one else will take it, I'll go. I mean, hell, work gave me free tickets to see Natasha Bedingfield because they knew how much her and I got along when she came to the station to do an acoustic performance. And I was like, I have this extra ticket and nobody else will go. I need somebody else to go with me because me showing up at a Natasha Bedingfield concert alone looks like this. Like I'm here to capture somebody. But meanwhile, if I go with like I asked my half-brother's half-sister to go with me. Or my half-brother's half-sister.
Okay, following.
Yeah. I asked her to go because I knew she was a fan. I don't hate Natasha Bedingfield. But I asked her to go because I knew she was a fan. She couldn't go. I was like, please send one of your friends to go. It's just a free ticket I don't want to waste too. And I can't go by myself. If I go there with another woman, at least it looks like I got dragged there. Like every other boyfriend and father. If I go there by myself, I look like I'm here to abduct small girls.
So you're saying that you didn't get the ticket in time to find a date?
Not to be able to find a date or anybody else to go. I even asked my roommate Jeff, who's a bald-headed, old school punk skinhead, tattooed from neck to ankles. Like, Jeff, go with me. We will both be out of place together, and it'll look much more sane than me by myself. He's like, no, not gonna do it, dude. Not happening. I was like,
wow.
But it was still a good concert, and it was like the Veronicas opening up first, so it was like super girly pop the entire time.
And you were alone.
Oh, totally alone.
In your hoodie.
Getting hammered on real whiskey.
Wow.
Trying to forget that I was even there. Didn't work.
Yeah, good.
But okay, so
that's productive.
You're working at a pop station and AM sports station, board hopping.
Yeah.
Doing weekends on air, you said?
Yep, 1997.
1997. When did you make the move to? It was HFS your first station in Baltimore?
Yes, and it was DC then, really.
Yeah, it was Landham. Yeah.
It was Lanham. Yeah, I made that move because I needed an internship, and all I ever wanted to do was work for HFS. Like, I could tune them in from Gettysburg at night. I could hear Nisi if I pointed the... She's going to kill me now that I said that. She hates that I listened to her when I was in high school. She hates it more than anything. I could point the antenna just right and pick up Nisi overnights. Yeah. And I would, like, fall asleep, like, listening to my tuned-in rock music behind my conservative parents' back. It was romantic. So I wanted to work there. I knew I wanted to work there. And when it came time for internships, that's where I applied for my internship. So I got in as an intern and then slid them my demo from the pop station and convinced them.
Were you still working at the pop station when you were interning?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was working 3 jobs then. No, I had 3 stations then. I was on the college radio station, interning for HFS, and working weekends at the pop station. And still held down a job at the college bookstore.
Jesus.
Yeah, 15 credits that semester too. It was rough, but I made it. I survived. I could do anything.
Yeah,
I could do anything!
I remember doing like 20-some credits and working 2 jobs and still managing bands. It's like, now I look at it and go, well, now I'm in Boston. I'm like, oh, I only work 40 hours a week and I have no time to do anything else.
Right. It's
Meanwhile, in Baltimore here, I was working 70-hour weeks and still doing comedy, still doing everything. And now I don't know, like, I don't know if it's getting older. It's just
I think so.
I think it's just older. You just don't want to put that much commitment into anything because you know what it is, or I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't have enough time to do everything. But when I look at what I used to do, I used to get so much stuff done.
I used to be able to go to like 4 shows a week and hold down this and do that. I have no idea now. I go to 1 show a week and I'm exhausted. But I'm still going to 1 show a week. Because you gotta go. I think we might have a special guest here in a moment.
That was one of the dogs trying to sneak in?
Penny's trying to get in.
Okay. But I don't even have time to go to... I don't even know how I used to go to so many concerts. Because now I don't even have the time. Like, I went to 1 so far this year, and it was Liz Phair Acoustic opening up for Smashing Pumpkins.
What year is it again?
Yeah, exactly.
What
right?
happened? What?
And I only actually couldn't even care about Smashing Pumpkins. I just wanted to see Liz Phair. I left halfway through Smashing Pumpkins' set because I was like, I don't care. I just wanted to see Liz, and she was great. But all right, so doing the pop station in Hanover, HFS in Lanham, just outside of DC, interning for them, doing promotion events, or were you production intern?
Kind of an everything.
Because there's
intern.
different. Okay.
I helped with the morning show 2 days a week.
All right.
Then,
which at the time it would have been.
That was Graham's World.
Was it Graham by himself, or was it before?
Randy was still with him.
It was Graham and Randy.
It was Graham and Randy.
Graham wasn't Graham nights then?
No, he was mornings. I was there. I promise.
No, I know.
It was very short lived. He
because I remember. Yeah.
He got bumped for the Sports Junkies right after my internship wrapped up.
When was Lou Brutus there?
Way before.
Was it that early? Because I remember... all right, no. Lou Brutus was there in 1999.
When I started there as an intern, it was Graham's World, then Kath.
What year did you start there?
2000, 2001.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking it's like 98. Okay, but yeah, this is towards the end. Was it the last semester of college?
Second to last semester. Yeah.
Okay, so junior in college.
Junior in college.
So
it was Graham's World, Kath, Virgin.
That's when I started listening to Elliot. That's why I didn't know what it was. Because I grew up listening to The Morning Crash.
Gina Crash!
Yeah. Which, trust me, every time that I've met Gina with you guys, I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to know that I listened to her in high school. But, so yeah, it was Gina Crash, Alan Scott, and somebody else. I listened to them, and then I remember Lou Brutus took on. And the only reason I remember Lou Brutus was in 1999 was because that May of 1999 was when the Star Wars Episode 1 came out.
Yes.
And he was doing a contest for tickets to the movie premiere where you had to call in and do your best Star Wars impression. And I left class, snuck out to the payphone, called the station and to do a Chewbacca impression to try and win the tickets. Then he went, dude, I already gave the tickets away, but call me back tomorrow morning. We'll do a recorded bit. And it was just he was interviewing Chewbacca and I would do the voice. So I did that the next day, next morning. But so I remember 99. Okay, so it was 2000. Graham went from... Did he go from nights to morning, or did he start there at mornings?
That was before me.
Because I definitely did. I also tried to do my internship there at college. as his second Guido in a Speedo.
Yeah, I was there with Guido.
Okay.
Guido was part of the morning show.
Okay, so this was all right. Maybe I did my internship after you finished up. Because mine was
I could have been on weekends then. No, after mornings.
We've also known each other this long. We've never sat down and do the mathematics of when we were doing things.
We might have been two ships passing it the night down there. I don't know.
Well, I didn't get the gig. It was he picked a girl and then apparently slept with the girl and then she quit. But it came down to me, her, and myself, and she was the first year. Like when he did the thing, it was summertime. I was going to college, working at Home Depot, and whatnot. And I remember when she took the internship. She was still a senior in high school when we auditioned. He did like a live on air audition.
This was when he was on at night?
Yeah.
So he must have been on mornings. Wait, what year did you do?
That's the problem. I can't remember when that was.
I can't remember either. I got to check my resume. It's on there somewhere. I still plug it. Josie on HFS. Always. Hey, when you're part of something that's cool, you got to always plug that.
Oh, yeah. All right, so you're interning for the mornings, interning at the station, doing promo events too, I'm sure.
No.
You never did promotions?
No, I did music. And I did morning show. And then because I was in with the morning show, Randy showed me some production stuff. And that's how I got to know Spam.
Okay.
And Spam actually had me voicing clients. Hi, guys. I'm your favorite fantasies girl.
That's the best because fantasies is the real place here.
Yeah. And then I did Mondo. It was like... He had me doing all kinds of crazy voices for spots. It was a lot of fun. But that's how I got to know Spam was, yeah, he called me in to do the Fantasies Girl.
Yeah, see, I met Spam at Bad Decisions. John was like, oh, dude, how have I never introduced you to Spam yet? I'm like, Spam? He goes, yeah, hey, Dennis works for DC 101. You work for HFS. You guys talk. I was like, Spam from HFS. I remember listening to you. He was like, oh, really? And then, I guess we're friends? I don't know. I think sometimes Spam doesn't like me, but... I think most people don't like me most of the time.
That might be your problem.
Yeah, that's my complete total
thing.
insecurities in my head. I can't imagine Spam hates anybody.
He's
the nicest guy in the world.
I don't think he's capable.
Yeah, he's incapable of hatred. However, we'll see what happens.
Unless you did something bad to like a cat. Then maybe.
Well, we'll see how that changes now that he's in Florida. But anyway, enough inside baseball talk. So, when did HFS hire you?
Right after my internship.
Oh, that's good. Because most people do their college internships and then just disappear from the business.
Oh, no. I was hustling them that day. I was like, hey, guys, hey.
And you had enough experience already.
I had about 5 or 6 years at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5, I think.
Which, that's nowadays... No, well, first off, no high schoolers getting hired to work at a radio station. Maybe in market 623 that might happen, but
in York they took high schoolers as interns, but they were definitely more on the promotions end.
Yeah,
they didn't let them anywhere near the air studios or anything remotely close to a microphone. No.
Well, let's compare when we learned, because we're about the same age. When we were coming up with. Because the big thing for us, entertainment-wise, was radio. That was, there was also TV, but I think
my phone when I started radio, I had the Motorola StarTAC with it. It was cool because I had the T9 text, the predictive text. That was huge, right?
My first StarTAC phone, Motorola StarTAC, couldn't even text. It was just like the numbers came up like how your alarm clock does with the little lines and the dotted lines. That's how my cell phone originally was.
So I think, there weren't a lot of distractions in that way. At work, wherever I was, the car, whatever, it was radio, and there wasn't a lot of other options. Maybe people had Game Boys. I didn't, because my mom was convinced at that time that Nintendo was the devil, and...
Were your parents super religious?
Yeah.
Which sect of Christianity?
They're... just Lutherans, but my mom has just always been... She's just strict. She's just very strict.
Did you have to do basically hide your CD collection from her?
Yes, in fact I did. And one time I thought I'd be cool and share with her. I had Bryan Adams Waking Up the Neighborhood, and we were listening to that in the car, and there's like one time on the whole CD he drops an F-bomb. But I got it because that's the one that Everything I Do, I'll Do For You was on it.
Three Musketeers.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, that and Edwin McCain's I Will.
Oh, no, I did not like I'll Be.
Okay, well, those two were like the two biggest girl songs of our generation. Like, those are the two big romance songs of our generation.
Oh, yeah. Everything I do for you. Well, there was some My Heart Will Go On. Celine Dion.
Celine Dion. Yeah, okay.
Because that went with Titanic, and that was huge senior year.
That's also a big love song, too. But I think it was more, like, you got Bryan Adams, who's a good-looking Canadian man. You had Edward McCain, who was a chubby, but still kind of, like, attractive-looking in the...
Disagree.
In the fact that he's an attractive... Being a musician makes him attractive enough. Like, he wasn't ugly enough to be... Okay, fair enough. But it was those two songs are the songs that I imagine every girl in my high school creamed themselves to.
Mr. Big,
That's a little bit...
That's a little bit older, but I remember that from middle school definitely as being huge.
Yeah, that was pretty big. So, okay. But all right, let's just analyze the difference between, because you still run into interns up until a few weeks ago when you were working. You still had, young 20-something-year-old interns at the station. What's the difference between us when we were of intern age in radio and those kids, do you think?
They, I think that they are more social media savvy. They haven't met me yet, but...
Oh, you're the best on the Twitters.
Yes, thank you.
That I know personally.
Yes, so thank you. But yeah,
I just don't have the desire to tweet anymore. Like, even at the museum, I had to force myself to take
the only
pictures.
person giving you feedback on Twitter, let's be honest.
And that too.
That's why you're just like, forget it. Only Joe reads tweets.
But, all right. Because when we were doing, like, if you wanted to be an entertainment personality, even if you want to be on MTV, I think
all of the MTV people were old
radio
DJ.
people.
Yeah,
I think we all knew that everything started with radio.
Yes.
But nowadays, kids have so many other options to start entertaining. Like I guess the other options are
kids
YouTube.
out there with YouTubes and Vines. There's that whole damn Daniel nonsense. Those kids got a year's worth of shoes for a 7-second clip on social media.
Who's Dan Daniels?
Daniel.
Who's Dan?
You didn't see that? It was a Vine.
I'm falling out of... I am falling... I'm
wow.
starting to... Well, since I don't work
you're getting old. Okay.
Well, I don't work in music radio anymore. I work in... I produce traffic reports. So I'm falling out of touch with social
But that was a huge viral thing. It was like,
okay.
back at it again with the white vans. And because he said back at it again with the white vans, Van somehow caught wind of this Vine video, got them on Ellen, gave them a year's worth of shoes, and then there was like a charity thing, like a month later, a whole school full of kids everybody's getting white vans, basically. White vans for everybody, except for me. I didn't get any, but...
It's vaguely sounding familiar. But also, yeah, since I don't work in pop music, I don't pay attention to the pop culture anymore. So, which also weirds me out, because if I find something that goes viral, if I come across it, and then I see somebody 2 weeks after it went viral start talking about it, like, majority of the people I used to work with in radio, they'll post about a viral video 3 days after it was popular. It's like, what are you doing, dude? I'm not even in the culture, and I know that you're coming to the bat late on this.
I can defend some of that. I will defend some of it.
Okay.
Because, for as into social media as I am, there are some days where I don't make it onto Reddit, or I don't make it onto this or that, or, there are days where you lapse on stuff. You've got other stuff to do. Or you're posting enough of your own content. Sometimes that's happened, especially if it's a concert event, and I'm posting at a concert. It's not till the end of the concert that I would know about anything that's going on in the rest of the world. I'm sort of in that bubble of performing myself where I can't juggle everything else.
But that's the thing. Most of the people that I used to work with don't post their own content. They're just...
I'm sorry. What am I doing with my life? What am I doing wrong? Why do they still have jobs and I don't?
I have no idea. There's so many people in radio that all I see is them regurgitating the same dumb, boring content out there over and over. And it's hack and it drives me crazy. Like, they don't even have the time to rewrite the article in their own voice. It's one sentence and click here for more. You might, if they're really ingenuitive, you might get them saying a joke in that one line, which is probably an obvious joke that they stole from somebody else on Twitter. And then they went, for more on the story, click here. And that blows my mind.
We had this discussion when you first started ranting about this. We did. I remember it well. Same rant.
This is my big rant with radio. That's why I'm after this trip, when I get back to Boston, I'm actively leaving the business.
I can't believe you're doing that.
Yeah, I haven't really told anybody. This will probably...
This is the moment? This is the announcement?
This might be the... Well, it's not like my boss listens to my podcast, so we'll see how far this moment goes. But
I'm going to retweet it, so somebody might actually hear this. Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, I can't do it anymore. And the job I have is boring as hell. Even though it's got me in the SAG-AFTRA union, which is more imperative to be in that union.
What are you going to do to keep the union going? Because don't you have to keep up a certain amount of hours?
I don't know.
Can you just fall back to part-time? Did you even ever get full-time? Because I know
I am full-time, yes.
Okay.
I moved to Boston for a full-time job. And about $3 more an hour. And it's still not much.
So you actually made $3 an hour. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, no, because I'm only working 40 instead of 70, so it basically is the same amount of money I was making working radio and Best Buy and waiting tables. Same amount of money, just working 40 hours a week. So I'm still broke, but working less. And I don't make any money from comedy.
Does anybody?
Few people, but
yeah,
not
like
many.
3 people.
Yeah.
Well,
there's 3 people who make a lot of money in comedy. But there's people who make a living, 30, 40, 50 grand a year. Cat Williams, I think, boasts he can make $1 million a year, but that's not. I'm nowhere near the level of being a professionally paid comedian anyway. So.
You do not have a show deal.
Well,
Comedy Central.
I'm not even good enough. I'm not even a headliner. I'm not even doing 45 minutes or an hour. Even if I had 45 minutes or an hour's worth of material, I could start headlining and getting paid. But also that would require me to get good with the clubs. I don't do club gigs. I just do bar shows. Most bar shows don't make any money because they're free, or the overhead is so low from charging $5 a head just to get people into the back room of a bar to watch a comedy show.
So hold on. You're giving up radio because the money that they pay you is terrible, but at least it's money. But you're going to stay with comedy that pays you nothing.
Yes, because I'm going to put all my efforts and focus into comedy and podcast.
Okay, so what are you going to do for money?
I'm just going to get a boring job in an office.
But don't you have a boring job in an office with fluorescent lights now doing traffic?
Yes, but hopefully that pays me better. Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead. Say what you want to say. Because I need somebody to talk me out of this.
I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
As somebody who doesn't have a full-time job in radio right now,
all right,
don't let it go. Don't let it go. If you're going to trade it, what are your hours? Are you working a split? Because it's really...
split, yeah.
That's the only thing that makes it bad is the split.
And here's the thing. I don't foresee anyone hiring me.
To do radio?
Correct.
Are you applying for jobs? Do you know where the jobs are? Do you know that there are jobs open in Boston right now?
I look, but there
are jobs open in Boston right now. I guarantee it. I've seen them.
Okay.
I see everything.
All
I'm
right.
looking at everything.
All
no
right.
job stone unturned right now.
Well, here's also the difference between you and me. I would go to work for a rock station, clearly, obviously, easy rock or alternative, 100%. I would do classic rock, because I can fake it well enough. I know it well enough to fake it. Not that I have anything against it, but it's like one of those, we're both at that weird age, and music is changing where what we listened to growing up is now being considered classic rock, partially, but there's still that oldies and older rock from before our generation that they're still playing. That I know well enough, but I'm actually not of the appropriate age, which it doesn't matter.
I worked classic hits at 25.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
No, it doesn't matter. But
for you, it matters?
No, it doesn't matter. I would still totally do it in a heartbeat.
But then why would you?
I don't know if I'm qualified enough to talk about classic rock music. But we have the internet. I can make shit up. Yeah. You're right. Okay. I would do top 40, even though I'm so far out of the game. Somebody would hire me. I could. Definitely
it would take you 2 days to catch up.
Yeah.
If that, like just 2 days of listening. I mean, because it's the same 5 songs on repeat.
Yeah, of course. Then country is the only thing I don't think I could do.
I thought that for a long time, and now that's what I'm doing.
I considered it. I considered going to a country station.
I like it, actually.
And I considered...
Weird. It was weird for me.
Is it?
It was weird for me because I went through that phase in high school where I was very much alternative grunge girl with my docs and my tie-dye and my plaid and my flannel and my whatever else was going on in my head that I thought I was so cool.
We all did.
It was so cool.
Oh, I did the old school Bill and Ted, 2 flannels, one wearing on my shoulders and one wrapped around my waist.
Nice.
With the baseball cap turned backwards and the tuft of hair coming out of the front of it.
Oh, yeah. That's a great look. So... I went into radio. I'm never going to do pop music, and I'm never going to do country music, and I'm only ever going to be a rocker, and I'm only ever going to do alternative. And guess what happened? Elzo. So I did take 2.
No, Elzo. I guess I have to explain that.
Right. Elzo is what replaced HFS.
WHFS, classic heritage alternative station,
Yes.
got flipped and turned to Elzo, which was a country music station.
No.
Country music. Sorry, it was a Spanish station. Sorry.
Yeah, and it is still.
Still Spanish, yeah. And then they brought HFS back on a different frequency twice,
And I still love it, no matter what. Always and forever, HFS.
yes, it is a great station. It's a shame that Spam lost his job programming it, but anyway, that's
a whole different problem for another day.
Yeah, one day when I'm in Florida, I'll pull him down for a podcast.
Yes!
We'll talk about it.
Get him for that, absolutely. So I don't even know where we were.
Well, you were berating me for wanting to leave the radio.
Yes, don't do that.
I don't know if my heart's in it anymore.
But
it's
here's
like,
the thing:
like,
if your thing is you're gonna leave this to go do a boring office job, what do you even think you're qualified to do exactly? Administrative assistant? I mean, what do you have a degree? Sales?
Customer service?
You want to go you want to be a sales guy? You're gonna.
Is it any different than waiting tables?
Would you be a radio sales guy? Because that is where the money is. What do you mean no?
No, there's definitely. That's why it's the radio sales business is such a revolving door, because there's no money to be made in sales unless you get that one big gig, or you hustle a lot. But if I could do just an office sales where I come in 9 to 5, don't have to worry about about anything at the job after I walk out the door.
That's not how sales works at all.
There's plenty of
what sales gig? Even when I was selling cell phones at the mall, work followed me home.
Yeah, well, work followed me home from Best Buy too, even though it didn't need to. But that's because that's more in my own head, worrying about it than anything else. If I can make my brain shut off, which if I could make my brain shut off, I would get more than 4 hours of sleep a night, I'm sure. But I can work harder to try and just not care about the job and put all my focus into podcasts and the blog I'm supposed to be writing on my website, and just doing more content.
What do you use for your website?
I'm using domain.com, and I have a WordPress site as well. But I have, so my website, deadairdennis.com, is provided by domain.com. And I found a JavaScript generator that pulls the RSS, the visual RSS feed from the WordPress blog. So when I tell somebody to go to blog, it's deadairdennis.com/blog. And it's the same thing with the podcast, deadairdennis.com/podcast. It's all hosted in one area. Even though the WordPress runs the blog and it runs the RSS feed for the podcast. So you can still go to the WordPress site and find all this too. The blog and the podcasts. But I want it all in one house, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. I'm just taking notes.
Yeah. Well, dude, if you want help with websites, I can help you with that. Because I hear Squarespace is really good. I probably shouldn't have mentioned them because they're like the biggest person who sponsors podcasts. No, I just gave them free advertising as if anyone listens to this podcast. And if you are listening to this, you're not a nobody. You're special. And I love you.
You're my one friend.
So far on iTunes, 2 positive comments and 5 stars.
Nice. Okay.
Great. I just wish more people who listen to the podcast would leave reviews, because that goes a long way to things and stuff. Anyway, so it's all right for me right now to stay in radio. It's like staying with an ex-girlfriend, or not ex-girlfriend. It's like staying with a girlfriend who we've fallen out of love with each other, but we're going through the motions of being together still. Like, we've lived together so long, and everyone thought we were going to get married, but neither of us want to get married. We're both living with each other, but we kind of don't want to break up. That's where I'm at right now, where I feel like I need to either commit to, I guess if it was to go with the thing, either marry her, or break up and start over again. And I think I'm prefer to just break up, just to dump her. I don't know. Can you ever see yourself getting out of radio?
No. I've thought about PR and marketing. I've thought about sales. But I'm not ready to call it quits just yet.
Yeah.
I think there's one or two more things. I think I got one or two more things down the line that I think will happen.
Well, this is
again. I feel like I have a couple gigs left in me. You know what I mean? Like at some point, yes, all DJs stop or they have a heart attack on the air at the age of 77 because they're still working.
Yeah.
I would like to be one of the ones that has a heart attack on the air.
Same here, but it's not what I.
That's what I want.
I'm not in love with the business anymore. When I watch how many people are terrible on air or terrible at creating content, who don't create content at all and just regurgitate TMZ stories every day, or Gawker stories with no interest or spin put on it as their own personality. And I get the only reason I've gotten the jobs that I've gotten is from somebody's recommendation. And at this point, no one's recommending me for other jobs at this point anymore. And I also don't feel like I literally own the talent enough to be an on-air personality anymore. Like the few times that I filled in on air doing traffic reports, I shouldn't take this much to shake off the rust for me. You know what I mean? I have to do 3 or 4 takes just to read a minute. Granted, it's a 90-second traffic report, which is a long traffic report.
That is a long report.
Sirius XM.
Oh yes, that is the long report. I will say that.
So to do the 3, 4, 5, 6 takes to try and get that perfect in one take. Now, granted, I could do it and edit it together. If we had cool edit, it would be so much easier.
You have Goldwave.
Yeah.
Panic attack inducing Goldwave.
The worst editing program in the world. Like, literally, I begged my boss to just download Audacity because it's so much easier than Goldwave. And he's like, we can't use it, sorry. Anyway, but I don't think I own the talent. I don't think I have the talent I used to when I was in my early 20s. So even if somebody got me the job, I don't feel qualified for a job anymore.
I don't think a recut is a sign that you have too much rust, though, because
it's not rust. It's just I'm not as talented as I used to be. Like, listen to how much I've stuttered on this podcast alone.
I'm used to you being drunk all the time, so I didn't notice. Sorry.
I've been sober for 5 months. Well, longer than that, because I stopped drinking when I moved to Boston, essentially.
Good for you. There's my bourbon. Although I haven't had any today.
Well,
it's almost 5 o'clock.
I'm not sober. Well, now I'm on medication. Oh, we have to talk about that.
You're on medication?
Yeah.
To be sober?
Well, you know what? I mentioned it on the end of the last podcast, so the listeners know this. And we'll go through me right now. We'll go back to you. I had heart surgery New Year's Eve.
Oh.
Because I almost had a heart attack and died. So I'm on blood thinner, so I especially don't drink anymore. But when I moved to Boston, I pretty much stopped drinking because I wanted to lower my tolerance because I was drinking this in Boston the same way I was drinking up here. But I don't have the friends who cut my bill in half, and I'm not drinking $2 Natty Bows. So it went from, and also again, drinking 16 beers and 3 shots of Jameson at night and walking home essentially sober still. From the high tolerance.
Yeah, that's not good.
So walking home sober, alone, $100 less in my pocket, I accomplished nothing. So I figured if I'd stop drinking for 6 months, or just cut back drinking for 6 months, I'll save money, because money was super necessary when I first moved to Boston. And 2, I'll lower my tolerance, so when I start drinking again, I drink 2 or 3 beers and get a buzz. Yay! Mission accomplished!
Right.
And that never happened. Like, if I chug a beer right now, on blood thinners, I'll get a bit of a buzz. Because I was in Texas and I drank Alamo beer pretty quickly, probably about 5-6 minutes. Just chugged down the last third of it and went, ooh, and then it went away as soon as I got out the door. But
okay.
So I don't know how I got on that.
I don't know.
Oh, not drinking because of medication.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, so I almost died of a heart attack. We're there on that. I do a ton of jokes about it now. Yay.
Oh, good. I'm glad it worked out for you as a bit.
Oh, I have at least... I'm trying to write an hour about the surgery.
Just about a heart attack.
Yes.
An almost heart attack. It's not even a real heart attack.
No, it's not.
It's not a full-blown heart attack and you're going to make it an hour bit?
Yeah, well,
okay.
I'm going to try. Right now, I have 10 to 15 that's close enough to solid.
Okay.
Close enough to say it's solid.
Okay.
Still could be better, but it's good enough to work. And then I probably have another 10, 15 written down that needs to be worked and worked out and perfected. And then...
Where do you work that out? Do you take that to the bar shows? Or...
Open mics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So work them out at open mics. Like the festival I did here, I found 2 new jokes during the show, doing the routine. Just doing it in front of the audience for the festival, knowing everything worked, and was just... the crowd was hot enough to where I could riff out a line and see what comes out of it. And so I wrote 2 new tags, essentially. And then one joke that I was skeptical about, I found the right wording for it. Because that's kind of key when it comes to jokes, is wording things the most perfect way. But
So hold on. So you think you have enough talent to come up with something to say for an hour about something, but you don't think you can do radio anymore? I'm going to psychoanalyze you here. I'm here as your therapist.
you realize it's taken me 5 months to write 10 minutes that I know works.
Yeah, but you only need to make 8 seconds at a time. Maybe 20 if you have a break going into stop set.
Well, no,
There's such
I don't
little
think
bits.
all right, no, I don't think... Oh, no, I know I can still come up with bits. It's the ability to speak for 8 seconds without screwing up. Live.
Okay, you need a therapist better than I am to work that one out then. Because
But again,
I would prefer not to be in front of a live crowd like that, I think. I don't know. I would never do stand-up. Well, I would never say never, but I think I'd be better at improv.
Well, performing in front of, like, doing stand-up, or...
You're there by yourself on a microphone talking to a room full of people that are likely to boo you or walk out.
How's that any different than... I mean, you've
because you don't see them change the channel.
But no, you've hosted a live event, I'm sure.
Yes, tons. But I don't have to do jokes. I just have to say, hey, how you feeling tonight? Everybody doing all right? Ready for this band?
So you consider interviewing a band and hosting as being different than stand-up?
Yes.
I mean, fundamentally, or
I've hosted New Year's, and
logistically, they are the same because I'm up there telling jokes, but it's not that much different. Like, I feel comfortable on stage doing stand-up because I was hosting in front of audiences before. So for me to go on stage and start talking in front of people...
I love hosting on stage. All
right.
Absolutely.
So could you, if I, before you went out on stage, I said, hey, I need you to mention these things. Do you feel confident enough to be able to recall those things before going out there? Like announcements like, hey, don't take the brown licorice and tomorrow...
If it's that simple, yes. If it's a full sponsor mention, then obviously I got to take a card. But who doesn't? I mean, to do like the whole, thank you for calling, and this is their website, and this is their, some want like a full sponsor mention. So obviously, no. But if it was just like, remember to tell people to buckle up on the way home and tip your servers and, whatever, then yeah, that's easy.
Do you feel confident enough to go out in front of a crowd with a pre-written 2 minutes of things you have to mention? You don't have to say them verbatim. It was like, you're going to be out there for 2 minutes in front of this crowd, of this audience who's waiting to see Live's Rethrown Copper Tour or whatever. You're going to intro the band, and I need to say these things. You're going to be up there for 2 minutes. I give you the list of things. You have, let's say, an hour to memorize them.
Oh, I have an hour to memorize them?
An hour to memorize them.
Then that would be okay. But, yeah, no.
So you see that as being different as going out in front of a crowd of people and telling...
Because I'm not trying to get them to laugh. No. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm telling them...
You don't have to come up with jokes on spot.
I'm telling them things that they need to do.
Like, you have time
I'm a good informer.
I don't... telling jokes in front of people is no different than saying anything else in front of people, I don't think. Like, granted, the objective is to get the laugh, and when they don't laugh, you feel terrible inside.
Based on my Twitter account, I'm not sure I'm great at one-liners. I'm not sure. Anytime I try to throw a one-liner out there...
I'm the worst one-liner in history, don't worry.
It dies.
Yeah, I'm the worst one-liner writer in history. I don't do one-liners. I talk about me. And, I think when somebody... Yeah, exactly. Like, if I go out there and tell jokes, and they don't laugh at the jokes, I don't fault my performance, I fault my writing.
Huh.
You know what I mean? So going out
I would need a writer. I would need somebody to ghostwrite.
So you don't think you're funny at all?
I don't think I'm funny.
Okay. All right. Then that's the
difference.
I'm
quick. I think I'm witty. I think I can be smart and sarcastic, but...
Yeah, you just write that down and recreate it every time. I make it sound easy, and it's not easy.
I was going to say, this is a process. Don't people go to, classes for this?
No, the classes don't help, apparently. I just took a workshop over the weekend and with my buddy Jim Meyer, and I think Jim's brilliant, but he didn't say anything that I haven't read or heard anywhere else in any other classes. And the reason I went to classes, I was trying to get four people came down from Boston for this festival with me. Not with me, but 5 of us came down to do this festival.
Are they all crashing at your mom's or just you?
Nope, just me. I'm not that nice to the rest of them.
Okay.
They're lucky I picked them up. Well, no. I offered to pick them up from the hotel and drive them to the shows, and they're like, I'm good. I'll walk. It's like, it's a 25-minute walk. I'll pick you up.
Strangers taking a 25-minute
No.
walk through Baltimore?
Oh,
Yeah, no.
Through Hamden, too. Because it was the Doubletree there near Hopkins. So it's not that terrible of a neighborhood.
Okay, no, that's not bad then.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't look at being on stage telling jokes as any different of a skill than saying anything else in front of people.
But you have to be funny.
I have to. I have to write the funny jokes. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't write. If I say something that's funny, then I say something that's funny and it happens. But
Yeah, you just write it down and you say it again.
you make it sound so easy, but no, that's not how it works at all.
No, it's definitely not easy. Okay, so let's.
Okay, so are you staying in radio? Have I convinced you to stay in radio? Have I at least convinced you to stay at that job until you actually find a next job?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna quit.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm not gonna quit without a job.
I'm putting in 2 weeks tomorrow.
No, yeah, I'm not quitting the job until I have a job. I know better than to do that. Because I don't have the money to survive survive unemployment.
I don't know what Metro pays up there, but I know what it paid down here. And I'm just wondering, can you find an entry-level gig that is going to pay you that much that will make up for it?
Oh, I think I can find. I think I can find an entry-level office job that pays better. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm positive of that.
But once
will
you're
I get
out,
hired for
it's
it?
really hard to get back in. And you have to convince people who are grown-ups in a real world with suits that you're also a grown-up person, even though your resume says radio all over it for the past 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, that is the tough part.
You got to convince them that you're...
And I know, but
you're a functional adult and a member of society. I'm just not ready for that in my life.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is a reaction to being 35 and still feeling like I'm in my 20s and freaking out over that.
No, see, I like that.
I don't know.
25 forever.
I would love to be 25 forever, but I feel like when I see at 35, I hang around a lot of 20-year-olds in comedy, and I will look at the other people who are my age are much more farther along in their careers than I am. So they're also, most of them have families. So I'm at the point where I'm 35, living with two 28-year-olds, paying rent, and I'm one step away from having to go back to a job with a name tag just to make sure I make ends meet. Like, I'm doing well enough now, but I'm not going to
Isn't
get
that the
past
radio
that.
dream? That's what 99% of radio is. We don't all get Seacrest gigs.
No, I don't need a Seacrest gig. I need a
Seacrest gig. What are you talking about?
I would love a Seacrest gig.
Please, somebody hear this and give me one.
I would love one, but I'm happy enough just making a comfortable living. I'm not making a comfortable living.
But neither am I.
I'm still paying.
That doesn't mean I don't want.
But also, here's the problem. I'd feel different if I was still on the music side of things. I'm not. Like, I miss all the little things that we get.
Artists.
Like, seeing artists, meeting artists. Even if I don't like them, meeting somebody else cares. But, like, the only reason I started taking pictures with artists and posting them on Facebook is because I know other people enjoy seeing those things.
But you didn't enjoy it yourself?
I enjoyed seeing the people that I liked.
Okay.
But I didn't enjoy, like, when I met and did sound for, like, Craig Morgan. I don't care. I don't care about Craig Morgan when I got to meet him and do the sound for him. Okay, yeah, this going to church on Sunday song sounds really great, dude. Okay. But outside of that, I didn't care. Excuse me. Thank God I get to edit this. But... Okay, alright. Do you think you're coming from the perspective because you're out of it right now for the most part? Because you're kind of between jobs?
I'm between full-time jobs, but I'm certainly not out of it.
No.
I mean, I have the part-time job, the freelance stuff. I have hope right now. So, as long as I still have that, then I'll keep going for the full-time job.
Yeah.
Once unemployment runs out, different story.
Yeah.
But for now, all I want is another job.
Yeah, like I know that...
in the music side of things.
I don't know. I think I want to get back... I definitely want to get back to the music side.
But if you're in with Clear Channel, can't you, like, network to somebody something?
But I'm not even in the same building as that. We're all
Oh, you
by
guys are in different
ourselves.
buildings?
When I first moved there, we were in the same building, and then we moved 2 blocks down the street to our own building by ourselves.
When you do this, are you going to stay in Boston or are you coming back?
Oh, I'm going to stay in Boston.
Oh, you want to stay in Boston?
Yeah, the comedy situation is better there. And if I leave, my plan for comedy right now is when I finish up in Boston, when I'm ready to leave Boston, it's going to be moved to LA.
Okay.
I would love if I could pick up and move to Austin, Texas right now after going there 2 months ago. Like, I kind of fell in love with the city with the 37 hours I was there, especially the comedy scene. However, I'm getting too old to start over in a new city.
Couldn't you parlay the radio to the new city? Couldn't you find an
thought
open
about
gig
that.
in LA or an open gig in Austin?
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna. Well, that was the other thing that is.
See, well then why would you give this up? Because it could take you where you want to be.
Yeah, it took me to Boston. That's the only reason I went to Boston, because I could get the job there.
Okay, well
and
then wouldn't you
when I
pick
moved
that
to
for
Boston,
LA?
that I'm not going to move to LA until I know I can transfer my job to LA, and it's easier to transfer to traffic in LA than it is to try and pick up a weekend shift at a station in LA. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying don't give it up yet. At least get to LA first.
Well, if I would, I don't know.
What are you going to do? Transfer your sales gig at the mall to LA?
Well, if I get comfortable enough just doing any 9 to 5, then I would take any 9 to 5 when I get to LA. Or when I move to LA, maybe I could switch to doing comedy full time.
I know people out there.
I know a few people too. I don't know. I mean, they're all much farther along in my comedy career, so they're not going to be like, "Yes, Dennis. Now at this point, you're able to be a full time, paid comedian, but it's still going to be a grind out there anyway. I'll take whatever. I don't know. All right,
it breaks my heart to think that you would give it up before it gives up on you, because I think you should just wait until it gives up on you.
Yeah. All right. To go
when
back
it comes
to
to radio, I think you should wait for it to give up on you.
To come back to the girlfriend analogy, it's. Maybe I'm willing to break up with it before I know it's going to break up with. I'm willing to dump radio before I know radio is going to dump me. Because I'm
saying hold out. I'm saying hold out. Stay with her. Say let her dump you. I was just dumped, and all I want is another job.
All right. Well, this is a good talk, because you're at that point right now.
I'm at that point right now where all I want.
Because I know if I get fired from my job, I'm positive no one's going to rehire me. Nobody's going to hire me. Like, if I get thrown, I know if I leave the business, whether I choose to or not, I'm never going to be able to get back in. Unless I become Louis C.K., which that's never going to happen in comedy, which
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying wait until she kicks you out. Wait until she kicks you. Wait until she puts your stuff out on the curb and lights it on fire. She crazy like that. She do it.
That radio, she is a crazy mistress.
She is crazy. She will do that to you.
The radio, it's like the sea.
Oh.
She is a wicked mistress. Okay. All right. Well, right now I'll
think about it.
I'll think about it. I have more to think about now than I did before.
I think you should look at
because it's rough to walk away. I think
you should look at jobs. I think you should look at jobs and places you want to be, because you actually have that ability at 35 to still be single, to not be attached to somebody, to still follow your dreams. Why would you give up on the thing that could possibly launch you? It could still possibly launch you. It could at least get you to the next city. It got you that far. It got you Boston. It could get you
but also, is
to
Boston,
the next place.
I don't know where we're at in Boston's market level number. Did they drop below DC now?
Who's
I
DC,
think
7?
DC 7? I think Boston's 11.
It's still top 20.
Yeah.
Even top 25, honestly.
I mean, Baltimore's 22.
Right,
so,
that's what I'm saying. Well,
depending on where you look at, because I was doing Baltimore and DC at the same time, this is a step up / step back.
It's
going to Boston, yeah.
Yeah. I would say anything over 25 is good, no matter what.
Of course.
I mean, anything over 100 really isn't that bad either.
Anything in the lower 100, yeah.
I mean, it's still... I mean, York was... When I started York, I think it was like 101, and now it's down to like 111 or 112.
So less people in York.
But it doesn't make any sense because the area's been growing crazy. I think it's just other places are growing more.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it did drop a few. But it's still... That's a decent college-sized town. It's still... DJs make enough money to survive. DJs are still respected in the community as sort of a D-list celebrity. So...
Yeah.
Yeah, anything above that, it's... You know, when you're looking at jobs, and you spend a lot of time looking at jobs, you will always see job openings in like Iowa and like weird places, Alaska, places where the weather is terrible. And I don't think anybody who's not from there wants to be there for any longer than a year or two just to do stuff. And Kansas, I've seen a lot of job openings in Kansas through the years, just constantly job openings in Kansas. You know, somebody needs to fill those spots. But when you have a mortgage and a fiance and family in the area and stuff, that's one thing. Or if you're just a single dude who's already left his hometown, then, you know, I'm not saying go to Kansas City, but look at least at the places you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, if I was 25, I'd go to Kansas City. Maybe. Because if I put radio in front of comedy, right now comedy is the number one thing in my life right now. Radio is my day job that pays my bills. I just feel like at this point I need a job that pays better bills. Anyway, point being, let's talk about that because you brought up the D-list celebrity thing. Do you still find people are excited by when they find out you work in radio? Because for me, anytime I very rarely would tell people I worked in radio. It's like, it wasn't my opening line like certain people I worked with, like, hey, how you doing? I'm Sammy from The Kane Show. Yeah. Or I'm Eric from The Kane Show. It's like, all right, back off. Like, not at non-radio station events. Like, when they're off the clock, that's how they introduce themselves to people. It's like, me, I would wait until somebody, and I would never tell them that I did anything, because this essentially the conversation was like, so what do you do? Oh, I work in radio. Really?
See, here's
and
what I
light up a little bit, and then, especially when it would come to women, like at a bar, I was like, so are you on air? I'm like, I work behind the scenes, or I'm a producer of this, I'm behind the scenes, or this. Like, oh. Even people who would be like, oh, I don't listen to radio anymore. They still had a little excitement in their eyes when they found out I worked in radio. Do you find that the same way? Is it?
To the point where I buried it. I didn't even like not lead with it. I buried the lead. Where do you work? Oh, I work in an office. Oh, where? Oh, off of this street. Oh, which one? What building? Oh, this one. Oh, what do you do there? I'm in radio.
What?
Because guys got creepy.
Oh, okay. All right, let's talk about that. Because creepy for guys, and it's especially everyone always told me that I need to lead with that with women. I'm like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that for multiple reasons. One, I feel like, especially since my job in radio has never been that prominent. Even when I was doing stuff on air at 104.3, or even the few times I did weekends at DC 101, it was never enough for me to be like, to consider myself boasting or whatever, like, hey, I'm a jock at DC 101, maybe I'm a big deal. Like, even if I told them I worked there and they're like, oh, so do you have a different name on here? Because I've never heard of Dennis. I'm like, no.
I'm on in the overnight. I'm on from 3 to 4 a.m.
Like, even when I was producing Jackson's show, and I would 2 days a week, and I had my own 60-second segment at 6 in the morning, 6:20 in the morning. I could tell, oh, I do this. I'm like, never heard it. Okay, so I was like, there's a lot of humbling for me. But as a woman, how has that been different for you? Because I should be using it as a selling point to people.
I don't.
You don't need, well, as a woman, you don't need to welcome guys like, so, I work in radio.
Yeah, I know.
Like, no, you don't need to do that.
I didn't have a problem picking up guys without mentioning radio.
Yeah.
But I can tell you 2 friends of mine who have gone through divorces married listeners. And when they lost those gigs, the wife
specifically
kind of went...
listeners. Not just casual listeners, but like fans.
Listeners, yeah. Yeah, like... I listen every night to the point where I'm going to, meet you at a bar sometime to hang out kind of thing. Oh, wow. Right? So... Like,
if you're like, oh, I've heard of HFS listener, I think that's fine, but
like, people that, they would, come to events and get to know you and then start dating you and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Oh, when they lost their gigs. Pigs.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they were that bad, but they were definitely fans. They married fans, and... somehow magically within a year or 2 of losing the gig that person was a fan of, they split. No surprise there. Okay. So, I mean... Do I know these 2 people, by the way? No, you don't actually. Right, okay. I don't think you know either one personally anyway. Okay. But no, they're great guys. It just... They married listeners. And that's... I don't know. I just don't think that that's a good... It's one thing, it's a casual listener. Oh, yeah, I heard of your station. Oh, that's kind of cool that you do that. But it's another thing where they're, like, seeking you out. So I tried online dating after my first divorce and tried not to mention radio. Because the one time I did, the guy went crazy and was like, he listened to me before we went out and was, like, regurgitating stuff to me. And it was frightening. It was frightening. It was like, why are you saying things back at me? I said at work. Like, you know, I wouldn't go to your job and read your memo aloud to you. Why are you asking me why I said something or...
So he was asking you specifically about things
that happened on the air.
Oh, wow.
And I got kind of freaked out.
Did your fiance now listen?
Well,
when you were at Miss?
He's also in radio.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I met him when I was doing traffic. You see why traffic is such a good thing? I met a whole husband doing it.
Yeah, but
actually... I met 2 husbands doing it, but I already divorced one of them.
Can I ask? Because I just wanna. I have to do it for my own record keeping, and I hope you don't tell me. Is this is 3, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I didn't want to make a deal of it. I just wanted to keep track for my own records.
No, it's funny. We laugh about it. We laugh about it because what else can you do? But that's the conservative upbringing. You don't live in sin.
You don't live. Well, you also don't. Well, you live in if your upbringing is conservative, you're going to be very liberal. Like everyone rebels against what they grew up with.
So, it is what it is.
But, yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. So he and I met. He and I met. Well, he was the producer for the Ed Norris Show on 105.7.
Oh, okay.
I was the traffic girl.
Okay.
And we've known each other since, and things lined up. Eventually, that whatever happened. Now here we are, going down the aisle a 3rd time. Everybody.
And figuring out how to pay for that wedding.
Yeah.
At this point,
right?
Okay,
that's a whole nother problem.
When you met a guy who wasn't a fan, did they become fans? Like what have you?
I would say honestly that Dave is a rock and roller. Mm-hmm. And I don't think previous to our relationship, he would have been listening to pop, at all.
Or adult contemporary or whatever it is.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, he would listen. We had a radio in the kitchen where he would be cooking dinner and listening. So, he listened because it was me.
Yeah.
I don't think he's... Actually, the radio's not even in the room anymore. We moved it, so I don't think he's listening right now.
Well, with the new iHeartRadio app or the CNN radio app, you can listen to the radio.
Yeah, we have that. He listens to podcasts, and we have a little speaker that you can plug the little phone into on the media stand.
All right. So, but as a woman, when you would do station events, did you?
I definitely got a few people who wanted to come up and take pictures. Yes.
Okay.
They definitely came there specifically because I was there and they wanted their picture with me. And I would say 99% of them are actually pretty cool people. I did become friends with one of them just outside of work because we had a lot of music and stuff in common. He actually has a lot of stuff in common with Dave, and they kind of were chit-chatting at one of my events or whatever, and he's become a really good friend. Okay. So
that's good.
I'm not against friendships with people, but relationships, no.
Well, have you ever felt endangered at a station event because of creepy listeners? Because trust me, if I did an event and a woman was a fan of mine, which never existed, I think my man brain is supposed to be like, yeah,
that's
when
what
I know my personality would be like, what? I grew up in Dundalk. I can smell crazy. Like I know just from growing up near crazy that like this is gonna be a bad situation, but I know as a man brain I'm supposed to like that thing. I know it's got to be different than for a woman, because it can't be that much different than women in comedy, which you have no perspective of. But I've been asking that question a lot to female comedians.
I would say danger. There's been some lingering. There's been some awkward moments, but I've also been kind of a paranoid person, so I've always done things like park my car around somewhere else, or like I did an appearance at Value City Furniture. Hey, how you doing? The one that's over at White Marsh.
Try those beds,
right? Honestly, it was their mattress store promotion. So I had an appearance there, And there's a Target right down the street, like across the parking lot, basically. So after that event, I went to Target before going home. Like, nobody was there to spook me. There was nothing to make me think I wasn't safe. I just already have it ingrained in me to not be obvious.
Okay.
So, or like, throw on a coat and sunglasses and then go out. Yeah, I've always sort of been paranoid about that happening. So I've always taken steps so that it won't. But I've definitely had people linger a little too long or something like that where, it's been awkward. But nothing dangerous.
Okay. Well, let's dive a little more deeper into this. So,
I think the most dangerous, most dangerous thing I ever did was, when I was on the show on Mix with Priestley. He had said something that upset One Direction fans. And we had a legion of One Direction fans just dive bombing in on us. That was crazy. They were crazy. They were...
Local or national One Direction fans?
I don't even know. There was a lot of stuff coming in from different area codes, so I'm assuming it was sort of national. But it ended up not being a big deal. But that was the first time I think I learned the important lesson of fandoms. I mean, I know geek fandoms. I know your comic book fans. I know your whatever, Star Trek versus Star Wars nonsense. No, it's really Battlestar Galactica. No, Firefly's better than all of them. Shut up. Like, I have those those are memorized. I know those battles, but this was like Harry's better than Louis, better than something craziness. I couldn't.
Like, this sounds like a little Abner character names, like not pop star names, but no, I get you.
Even growing up, like I was a fan of New Kids on the Block, and I had a favorite, but it would have never occurred to me to
fight somebody for being a Jordan fan, even though you're a Donnie fan,
right? It wouldn't occur to me to go out of my way to talk to somebody I don't know about it in a crazy way, like a threatening way. So it took me back a minute because it was just like, whoa, these kids are serious.
Wow.
Like, somebody's mom needs to be checking their accounts to see what they're posting. Either that, or if they are grown-ups, they really need to temper their enthusiasm into something maybe more productive than how much they love One Direction specifically.
So the only time you felt truly threatened was by 13-year-old girls who are Harry Styles fans.
Yes. They were, in fact, Harry Styles fans. Thank you very much.
He is the cutest.
Oh, God. He just cut his hair. Did you know? He just cut his ponytail. Oh, my God. That was just today.
And how did TMZ not call you about that story
It was
today?
on today's, but I took the Prince story.
Yeah. But, when in doubt, go with Prince.
Always. I would rather, I was more passionate about Prince than Harry Styles' ponytail. Sorry.
All right, but let's talk about, let's go deeper into the subject that's going to make all the neckbeards turn this off. Being a woman in radio.
Yay!
Have you felt, I don't want to say marginalized, I don't want to go with dumb questions, but do you feel that you've been treated, are you more worried, being a woman in radio, do you feel like you're at a disadvantage than men? Because we both know the standard morning show. We got the weird, we got the cis male offensive guy, and then they got the girl who's always like, oh boys, like that format happens every day across the country. Like, does that bother you seeing that? Like, I mean, you've had enough success as a woman, but when was the last time there was on rock, AC, or pop, a successful female-led morning show?
Crash?
Yep.
Okay, I'll just shout out
I'm 100% like, dude, Gina Crash and Alex Scott were part of the reasons why I got into radio. And
I would say,
told that to her face.
Even on her current show, she's still pretty strong. I mean, it does say Greg and Gina, but
yeah. Well, they have to pair her up with a man.
She's not like a
Is
giggle
she doing
box.
mornings? Is it mornings?
Yeah.
It's it's light, right?
101.9. Yeah.
I only know because of the tweets. I'm glad she's back in Baltimore from New Jersey. Because isn't that where she was last?
Philly, Allentown, yeah. Okay. She was kind of over that way.
Because she was voice tracking HFS when it came back.
Yes.
From up there. And then one day I just realized in the tweets that she was back in Baltimore doing Light 102.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's 101.9. Today is 101.9. It will always be Light 102 to you.
It'll always be Light 102 to me. It'll always be Mix 106.5, and it'll always be the Balmer Arena, not Royal Farms Arena, or whatever they want to call it today.
I call it Rofo Arena.
That does sound much cooler than Baltimore Arena, but it's still the Baltimore Arena to me.
Okay.
Anyway, but Rofo Arena does sound so much cooler.
I like it.
When you say Rofo, it sounds so much cooler than essentially a chain of convenience stores that's the Wawa.
I think maybe that's what hips it up. That's what hips it up.
Yeah.
Rofo, Wawa, Sheets.
Yeah. Well, Dancing Royal Farms is just Wawa with a meth addiction. But we all love it.
Less bread choices. They have less bread choices. Wawa has way more bread than...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Well, yeah, no. Just like a normal person has more teeth than a meth addict, Wawa has more bread selections than Royal Farms.
Okay. But Royal Farms have burger cookies, so...
Burger cookies.
Have you had some since you're back?
I did. Good. I had to go off my diet for them.
It's worth it every time.
Oh, it's totally worth it. 100%. The two things that I cheated on my diet was worth it was Matthew's Pizza and the burger cookies. And I had a bow. Well, I had a bow with the Matthew's Pizza.
Well, you got to.
Of course. So anyway, let's talk about that though. Being a woman in radio, like, do you feel like, or not even you yourself, you've been pretty successful, but do you see being a woman in the field still is a disadvantage?
I think the one place where it can still get to you is when they're casting the whole station. There doesn't seem to be an issue with having two guys in a row, but especially in a rock format, two girls in a row is something that doesn't happen often. And I would say the other thing that doesn't happen often that I would love to personally do is to be on a female-fronted or dual female morning show. I would love to do that. I've talked to some friends about it in the past. I wish that we were in a position where we really could get that going. That would be a lot of fun. I think that there's a place for that just as much as there's a place for anything else. Like, why does it have to be two guys and one girl? Or why does it have to be four guys and two girls?
With Diane! Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I think that's an individual problem, not a radio as a whole problem, but then it becomes sort of an overall thing. But that's up to each individual program director, what they want the cast of their station to look at. If you look at us as actors or talent or presenters. And I would love to see some of those barriers come down. I don't necessarily know how, dated those ideas are. Why does it have to be? But I do know females who are doing like one male, one female. I did a morning show that was one male, one female. And he was sort of the lead guy. I was news, traffic, and comment.
Was that in Harrisburg?
That was the York one.
The York one.
The peak, yeah, which is now...
Before you came back to
Yes.
Baltimore. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
you were the co-host, and then I use finger quotes not because I think you weren't important.
Well,
but did you feel marginalized to him?
Because I was a woman. Not because I was a woman. I came in to a partner who had... His previous co-host was there 12 years. And he had been in that position on the station doing mornings for, I think, about 27 years at that point.
Okay.
So I don't feel marginalized as a woman, but I did feel like I had big shoes to fill. And I had... I grew up listening to him. So I didn't feel marginalized, but there was definitely a respect. So I wouldn't... But marginalized isn't the right word. I mean... But it would be like, of course he had more endorsement clients. He was there for 30 years.
Yeah.
Not because I was a woman, I didn't get any endorsement clients. It was that kind of stuff. So I don't think that had anything to do with being a woman. I think the only thing I've really come across is when I'm applying to a show and there's already a woman on the show, are they going to cast the next person to be a male or female? What's their mix? Like, I've actually applied to jobs and then gone and looked at the station to see, okay, it's a male-female morning show, but they have a female in a middays. So if they're hiring for afternoons, I don't know if they would even take me, but they would definitely take me for nights if they put a guy in afternoons. And it's sort of that format where whoever is in middays is kind of every other from there, no matter what the cast of the morning show looks like.
Yeah, because I can't think of very many, like, just in the rock world, are there any women that do afternoon drive? Because they're usually stuck in the middays.
Amelia did it on 98 Rock.
She's doing it now, not your era.
No, did it. She's doing
That's
middays.
right, they did move her to middays, too.
Right. Afternoon
I mean,
drive,
not specifically,
females.
but if you think about how many stations are across the
How many stations across the country even have an afternoon drive female-only show?
It's few and far between. I'm
drawing a blank, honestly, but if there was an afternoon drive opening for a solo female out there right now, I'll take it. Call me, please. In a heartbeat. You know, but I think that's just a matter of balance and casting. But yeah, when you have two guys in a row and it's not looked at as odd, but having two females in a row, a programmer would at least stop and think about it. Do I want two females in a row? And then I guess it would come down to how different you are from the other female. Maybe in my case, I would play well against somebody with a deeper register, like if Niecy had middays, or if Amelia had middays, or when Sarah had middays, you know, where they have that, and I'm more of this bubbly sort of chihuahua. I'm sort of a chihuahua, and they, you know, have these voices I would kill for. I would love to have deep, bassy, sexy pipes like that.
By the way, speaking of pipes, I haven't had a cigarette in 6 weeks, and I don't know yet if it's affected my voice.
I haven't heard a difference.
Yeah, I don't know if that gravelly, because my voice sounds nasally to me, but everyone else is like, it's very memorable, and it sounds like gravelly, which it is.
I hear the gravel.
Yeah.
I don't hear the nasal.
To me, it sounds like a truck full of screaming babies crashing into a nitroglycerin factory, but...
Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with my own voice. But...
Yeah, but I just feel like, you know, but if it was another, more of the upbeat female that was already in middays, would they put another upbeat female against back-to-back? I don't see why it matters. If you're doing compelling content and the listeners are engaged and you have a likable personality and you have name recognition, then I don't think it should really matter where you are in it. And I hope moving forward, the programmers with the more antiquated thoughts about that will reach retirement age and get their golden parachutes and sail away.
Well, we are getting closer to that, I hope, itself, because... I don't know. I've never thought of women as being less talented in anything than men. And it's being in a weird position that we're fighting for that now. Because to me, in my head, like I've grown up amongst much, you know, patriarchy and bullshit like that. But I don't know if my eyes were ever as open to it as it is now, because I'm definitely not a feminist. And when I hear most feminist rants, I just roll my eyes like, ugh, you're so wrong. But I'll never treat a woman differently for being a woman. And I have a hard time feeling like when I hear, because I'm starting to hear a lot more of it in comedy from women about how they feel uncomfortable, threatened, marginalized, this and that. I was like, I just think comedy, one, is a more male-driven field than female. Like, yeah, it would be great if we had more female comedians in it, being open and true to themselves, instead of like feeling like they need to be gross and dirty. And one of the boys, it's fine if they are, but sometimes it's forced. You can tell the difference. But to hear a woman go, I never grew up with any female comedy figures. I literally, and I've said this before in the podcast, when I was a kid, I literally wanted to grow up to be Lucille Ball at one point.
Who doesn't? I mean, that's everybody. Right.
Like, I grew up with Jane Curtin as one of the, watching Jane Curtin as being one of the best straight men, comedy straight men in the history of comedy, and never ever thinking differently of it. And Rita Rudner and others, Joan Rivers and stuff like that. Like, Joan Rivers is probably the closest comedic icon to what we do in radio. So to hear, like, you had female, Niecy was one of them. You had female icons. Again,
Robin Quivers.
Yep, you said that. Niecy. Do you have any white female?
Crashy.
Yeah.
Gina Crash.
Yeah. And again, me being a guy.
Sarah Fleischer, 100%. And
yeah.
then in Central PA, I'm drawing a blank on her name, and I love her. What is her name? Jen Shade. But those are all...
Oh, that is a cool name.
Yeah, Jen Shade. She's cool. She's real cool. I'm happy that I work in like a voiceover thing with her. Like, I got excited we were on the same spot.
Oh.
I was so excited. Because I listened to her growing up as a kid. So yeah, there are definitely, I would even say, a strong mix of female role models. But those role models are, especially when it's like somebody like Sarah Fleischer, I mean, that's a benchmark. Somebody like Robin Quivers.
Sarah was with
that's
90
a
Rock
benchmark.
Sarah started at 90 Rock before either of us was born.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she just retired,
and
right?
then, yes. But she's She's still hosting and doing stuff. I was at Project Runway with her. She was part of that event.
Okay.
So that was really cool. She was the MC, and so she got to announce me on stage, and it's just always like, even though I know her now, it's still in the back of my mind. Oh my God, it's Sarah Fleischer. Oh my God, this is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, I nerd out over it. It's great.
What was Project Runway, by the way? Because I saw the tweets, and I saw the tweet of you and Justin.
Justin Schlegel
why is Justin not on social media anymore? What did he do? Like, he canceled all his social media.
He does everything for the show now. The show accounts is where.
Oh, so he only does the show accounts. Okay.
I think his focus is on the show accounts.
Because he's, God damn it, he's such a brilliant comedy talent. For him to not be putting it out, not creating more content and sharing it with people, I think is
But he's got a morning show now. That's where it all goes.
Yeah, but the people from across the world should be reading his tweets. Like, he is that brilliant of a comedian. Like, the fact that he came back to Baltimore and is not doing comedy in LA, I started telling him about it, but I didn't go to it. But I'm so disappointed that he gave up comedy in LA to come back and do Baltimore radio. And he was like, dude, this is all I've ever wanted in my entire life, is to have a morning show in Baltimore. I'm happy and content. It's like, all right, fine, if you're happy, that's great. But he's such a brilliant comedic mind. He needs to share his brilliance of comedy with everyone.
Well, he
not
shared
just
his Speedo.
Not just the lucky people here in Baltimore.
He shared his Speedo with everyone at Project Runway. So that's actually put on by a group called Show Your Soft Side. And
it's basically an animal charity because it's
right.
Project.
So this particular event benefits Barks in Baltimore, down by the stadium.
BARCS, Barks?
Yes, and that's where Penny
Not
came from.
Beer.
So that's where my affiliation with Barks comes from, is I got a dog from there. So, but it's a runway show, but instead of being the runway about fashion, it's about actual adoptable animals. And one of their taglines was, go home with a 4-legged model. And so I was out on the runway with a kitten.
Did you just get Penny?
No, I've had Penny since 2009.
Oh, okay. All right.
No.
Oh, so you didn't just bring her home from the thing. Okay.
Nobody came home from the event.
Okay.
This
year. So you were doing the runway with a
kitten.
Kitten?
Yeah. But then there's other really cool people to get involved, like John Rollo had a kitten. The
MMA former MMA wrestler John Rollo.
Governor.
My brother's business partner with my brother is business partner with Rollo with the fights thing at the arena.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So the governor, though, Governor Hogan came. He walked a puppy. Mm-hmm. There an assorted amount of Orioles wives, Orioles players, Ravens players, their wives, their kids even came out. That was adorable. But yeah, the whole idea is to just A, raise money for the shelter, and then B, everybody who walks is adoptable. And then they bring out a special celebrity, and this year's celebrity was Molly, which was the national news story about the dog that got hit by Amtrak and lost a leg. And then the Amtrak officer that found her adopted her. So she was like the special celebrity. Because she had gone viral. And then the second celebrity, what's her name? Rebecca Curry, the comedian. She does stand up for Pitts.
Okay, I do know her name.
Yeah, so she did stand up for Pitts with Justin like the day after Project Runway, but did the runway.
Because that show was just at Comedy Factory.
Yes.
Because I was looking at that show. Because when I was coming to town, I was checking to see what shows I could try and get on. Because I used to work at the factory. So I feel like if I begged Chip or Matt to give me a guest spot when I was in town, they would do it. I'm just not. I'm too nervous to call them because they don't really know that I do comedy. I stopped working there and started doing comedy afterwards. I have since been back when I started comedy and told them, but I haven't been there in over 3 years now. And
you should have made the call.
Well, it was also Bill Bellamy was there this weekend too.
Oh,
I think their show was the Pitts show was
Stand Up for Pitts. Yeah,
was Thursday or Sunday.
Yeah, it must have been Sunday because it was right after.
Yeah.
Project Runway. So, yeah, she was there, and the dog she walked was Robin, who was also at least a regional news story because Robin was found out tied to a fence with her face bound, and she's been going through all these surgeries.
The duct tape?
Yeah.
I do know that story.
Right, so these...
They duct taped her mouth shut, and it, like, ripped her skin.
Yeah. So they bring out the celebrity pups, the ones who've been in the news, you know, the national stories to bring the awareness, and then the actual celebrities, and then a few radio people. And we walk these adoptable pets, and There was a silent auction that raised a ton of money that had all kinds of really cool packages that they put together. Gift cards and like special experiences where you could like have lunch with a local radio celebrity.
Oh.
Or, yeah, a tour of CBS studios, I think, was even up for grabs. But, you know, just random little experiences that you could bid on. And then stuff. Big wine baskets and stuff. But it was all raise money, raise awareness. And then, hopefully, the animals we walked got somebody's eye. And they would go home with somebody.
Okay. So, we're both social media savvy. We're both tech heads. For the most part, I think I'm more of a tech head than you are, but...
Yeah, I used to be more into it.
Yeah.
Kind of got old.
We've both heard the jokes that, radio's on its last leg.
What are they talking about? Okay, here's what I don't understand.
Thank you.
The statistics are still showing like 98% of people listen to radio. So I don't know who's making up statistics that radio is dying when the only thing I see dying is the support of radio. And that's because they're buying into the hype of the other stuff. But I can tell you 1,000,000:1. When I come home, I turn on my TV. When I get in my car, I turn on my radio. I don't even get to my Roku and my Netflix or anything until I've literally run out of everything on my DVR because I don't want to have to pick up the extra remote. It's the same thing with the car. I don't want to plug in an aux jack. I don't want to hook up the whatever or Bluetooth. I don't want any of that. I just want to press the button and have something come out and it be good and that be that.
All right. I know I've listened to less radio since I moved to Boston because I don't have to listen to any stations. I don't know the local stations as well as I should. And also, I've switched to listen to podcasts because the podcasts I'm listening to are comedians, and I want to listen to more of the comedy world, and I like interviews. And that's one thing I always loved about radio is interviews, which I think maybe I'm wrong.
I love interviews.
But do you think we're getting less interviews in radio this day than before, in earlier days?
No. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the issue with interviews in radio has nothing to do with the availability of interviews and the concept of time and personal people meters and ratings and not wanting to stop down the music for a minute and a half to talk to somebody. Not because people don't want to be interviewed. But I think even on the radio end, like if we would have a band come in for an interview, we would post an edited version that was shorter and quicker and better for time. But then I always like to take the time to post the unedited interview where you can hear what people are really saying and what people are really doing behind the scenes and posting it as that. So then it's different from what you did on the air to begin with.
That's easy additional content right there. You post that, film it on a flip cam, post the video of the unedited video.
Exactly.
Or just the unedited audio on SoundCloud or whatever.
Exactly. And so that's how I treated interviews at that job.
See, that's why we get along, because I know how good of a talent you are and you're actually actively working.
Thank you.
But there's so many people that I still see who are so lazy and worthless, and that was the other thing I want to talk about. Okay. And I'll get to that. But let's talk about, so you don't see people, you don't think there's any less listeners now than there ever was. Do you think there is?
I think the only place it's changed is maybe in the office world, because it's easier to access online feeds of things when you're already sitting in front of a computer and you just plug your headphones into a computer instead of turning on an additional thing, the radio. And I think that's where it is. People are lazy, fat, and stupid, and I'm one of them. Mm-hmm. And I want to go with whatever is the easiest. And if I'm already sitting at my desk at the computer and all I need to do is take my mouse and click over twice and I have sound coming out, then that's what I'm doing. If it requires another piece of equipment and, radio takes up space on the desk versus you already have your computer there and your headphones don't take up any room. So I think those are the sort of places where radio is losing because it's easier to plug in your headphones and listen to the computer you're working on. But in the car, no, because we get the trial subscriptions to SiriusXM and we, let it die and come back when it's $5 or whatever. And yeah, it's fun that they get to cuss on there, and it's fun that you occasionally hear things that you don't normally hear on the radio. But and this is listening with the built-in dash. But there's still things that are so frustrating on there. Shows that keep re-airing and recycling. Like, stop.
Oh, dude, it was
like why is it the same show all weekend? Stop it.
When I got out of jail and went back to work in the restaurant, there was a restaurant I was working at, and they were listening to XM in the kitchen, and him and I only worked one day a week. And the chef started noticing, the cook, Sam started noticing that he listened to the same station, and the playlist was so relevant. At 9 o'clock, Primus played on Friday. Every Friday, 9:15, a Primus song played. And we started noticing that. He picked up. I was like, the only reason I noticed that it's happening at that time, because it's the same night you're here. And that's what he's... And so after that, he started listening, and it's like, and timing, it's like, the same things happen every night.
Right, and the same thing happens even on the music channel on TV, when sometimes it's just like, I want to listen to some music, but I don't want to get it off my butt, and I just turn on the Music Choice channel on TV, and it's, after an hour or two, it's recycled. It's worse than radio, I think, as far as recycling stuff. I would love something that was continuously changing, and I think radio has gone away from that. Some formats, it depends. Top 40 station, that's their job to bang the hits.
Yeah.
But especially when it comes to like a classic rock station, like go deep. Play the live cut. Play the cover version. Like get in there. Give me album oriented. I want something different.
Like I know there's that trope at work in radio where you meet somebody random's like, hey, why don't you stop playing the same songs? And my immediate response to all that has always been, stop requesting the same songs.
Right.
Like if you know how many times I've gotten a request for a song and then go, dude, we just played that. Literally, or we're playing it right now.
Right, it's like, why aren't you listening? We're playing it right now. So.
Or they would say, well, play it again because I missed it. Like, we wouldn't... The reason we are playing these things in such rotation is because people are asking for them in such rotations. Because the attention spans are always... Like, people say people's attention spans are short now. Trust me, they were always short. If you worked in radio, you knew how short people's attention spans.
Original hits for radio were only 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. Yeah. It was unheard of if a record went over that. That's a fact. And
talking about convenience, I literally, because I'm not listening to radio anymore, I listen to podcasts, but I started, because I was here and I quickly turned on 98 Rock on the radio just to listen to Justin and Scott and Spiegel. I was driving to the gym, Planet Fitness, because I got $20 a month.
Oh, hey now.
Occasionally. And, there's this 10. I went for the black card.
Oh, yeah. So you get the multi-gym.
I'm taking my exercise seriously with that $19.99 a month membership. Yeah. But I was driving to the gym and found myself that I didn't want to have to re-listen to the stream of the same thing I heard during the drive. So I just found myself plugging in and listening to the stream in the car instead of going to the FM band.
Just so you wouldn't be caught on the delay?
Yes.
Okay, that's only you.
So I wouldn't listen. Yeah, that's completely
That's
me.
only you.
I literally went out of my way to be inconvenienced to listen to radio. Well, because I'm an idiot. But,
yeah.
Okay.
But thanks. Their streaming numbers, thank you.
Yes. All right, so you don't think there's any decline in radio?
I think it's bogus. I think it's salesmanship. I think it's
a hacky trope. It's just like, it's the same thing with people who like, what's a vinyl record? Like, everyone knows what a vinyl record is unless you're a 4-year-old. And even at that, a 4-year-old has figured out the content of what a vinyl record is. Like, we were small kids when people started joking about not knowing what a vinyl record is. I think it's just, when you hear the word radio, you're programmed to go, nobody listens to radio anymore.
Well, and people are liars, because I've had people come up, oh, what station are you on? Oh, I don't know what that is. And then you'll see, like, a Rihanna song come on in the bar or whatever, and they'll be, like, dancing on top of the table, and it's like, yeah, I don't think you went out of your way to discover the mystery that is Rihanna. I think somebody on radio played that for you.
Yeah.
And you do listen to the radio, and you just think that you're too cool. Oh, I have a custom Pandora station. Yeah, that was so hard for you to put together, I'm sure.
Yeah, because people, I've always said this since I was a small kid. 90% of the population sit around and wait to be told what to like.
Yeah, and I don't think that number has changed. I don't think that number's changed at all. The people I know that are more into their Spotifys and are other music geeks who were getting it through, there used to be magazines put out that actually had CDs in them. And record labels used to give out a lot of promotional CDs all the time. That's what radio stations gave away. This is just the new wave of that. It's the people who were buying CMJ magazine and what was the other one that had CDs? Spin, yeah, that had CDs and stuff. And those are the people that are listening and creating their own stations. Those people were never on the beaten path. Those people were never the people that were going to listen to Top 40 radio to begin with. So the fact they're not listening now doesn't mean anything at all, because it's not what they were
never
into.
Factored in.
No, they were the ones who would be listening to college stations or, what other ways did we get things? I mean, I guess we all had LimeWire or what was the other one? The download programs.
Oh, Napster.
Napster, right. I mean, it's those people. It's the people who are constantly going out there. The people who go to shows and buy CDs from local bands. I mean, those people were never listening to Top 40 Radio anyway. So the fact that they're not listening now is no surprise. And there's always been that underground indie something, whether it be mixtapes or downloads or CDs out of a magazine. There was always that group, the front runners.
Well, see, I would include them in the 96% of people who need to be told. It's just the source you're being told from is different. So, like,
but they're looking for the source versus the source just literally being push button. They were still seeking something different.
I think even people who are not music fans are still seeking music and being told. Like, I love... So basically what I think... There's 4% of people who have an independent opinion about music and that will actively go and find things.
Yeah, those are the people I'm talking about.
See, I include them inside of the people of the 96 because they go to their independent. They go to LimeWire to be told what they like. They don't. I don't think a lot of people. So, all right, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think majority of the world.
I think
majority of the world needs to be told what they like. What their outlet for being told is different, whether it be radio, MTV. Or people. Like, I found a lot about punk bands from my friends. You know, so I needed to be told I needed these recommendations to come from certain people to move on. Does that make any sense? What I'm saying, right?
You still need that recommendation from somebody to get you started on the path, but I think there's a difference of you going out to shows or your friends telling you something or getting something from a magazine article. Maybe Dave Grohl mentioned, somebody, whatever, and then people get interested because he mentions them in an interview. That happens. And I think the people who are going to look up this name after the interview are not the same people who will wait a year and a half for that person to become popular and have their own single and that single be on the radio.
Okay.
I think that even though they're going closer to the source because we can't all go to every local show all the time. And, there always are gatekeepers and keymasters when it comes to media. But I think they're closer to the gate than waiting. I mean, you think about some of the songs. I'll use Walk the Moon as an example. They had a local following in Ohio. They got alternative play. And people knew them in the alternative world because they had some affiliations. The song Anasan got picked up by a few things commercially. And then... 2 years later, Shut Up and Dance With Me is the number one pop song in the country. But there were people who were fans from when that first song came out because whatever it was, I think it was a Warped Tour or something, promoted their single versus waiting until it hit a top 40 station. So, yeah, even though not everybody could grow up in Ohio and get into, the first show ever, the word of mouth has to spread from somewhere. But then... to go from I'm playing a video at a family function of this song, to, it's on the radio now.
Yeah, now everyone knows the song. Okay.
Now everybody knows the song. So I think there's always got to be some jump point where some person at some level, but I just think that it's... What level are you getting in on? If you're lucky enough to be an intern at a radio station under a music director who is awesome, like Pat Faris was at HFS when I was under him, and
I love listening to Pat's 90s at noon.
But like part of your day was let's listen to all the new music. That's part of your day because the labels have sent you the music. Not everybody can sit in an office in DC and have every record label in the universe sending them stuff to play.
Yeah.
So somebody's got to make a decision at some point. But the question is, did you hear that song because they played a festival as a band that was on at 1:00? Or did you hear that song when they were headlining the festival? Like, where are you? I think those 4% are the 4% that are looking elsewhere. And I still think 96% of people are just waiting to press the button and hear something they like. And if they don't, they just press the next button and the next one until they do.
Yeah, and I think that 90%, they'll use whatever outlet. I think radio is just a different outlet. But I don't think Pandora really is that new music outlet. I mean, I don't think Pandora and Spotify is really that outlet where you find new music. I think more people use it just to listen to the music that they already like.
I don't know. Because there are people who've come to me, oh, I heard the song. You know, where's that? You know, are they going after radio?
I mean, I've discovered a few new artists listening to things, like a couple things have popped up where it's like, why wasn't I already listening to these guys? But I don't think I've found, and maybe it's just me the way I'm using it, but for most people that I see when I look at their playlists, they're not finding anything that they wouldn't have already.
Well, so that's the other end of the spectrum is when you get into the
including
nostalgic part. You know, there's
nostalgia is a whole different thing,
right? Because I don't think my dad listens to music radio at all. I think he listens to a lot of talk radio, but he'll turn on the oldie station. He'll listen to that, but anything like you reach a point, I think, in your life where anything new makes you want to scratch your ears off.
Oh yeah,
and so I think those people don't use radio the same way as they used to because they would prefer the talk formats.
Oh yeah, well then that brings
and that's a whole different
thing. The next question is, I'm a firm believer that radio will always be here forever because it's free. Something that's free will always be around. There's no reason to get rid of terrestrial radio in the future. Like FM radio will always be there. Do you think that? Do you have any fear that at some point FM radio is going to go away? Because there's a lot of people that keep thinking it, and I'm like, it'll never go away because it's free. Advertisers will still come to it.
I would
forever.
Say, I don't know if anybody ever thought AM radio would go away.
Oh, I believe AM will go away.
But yeah, now you do. But I'm saying 30 years ago, 40 years ago, if you ask people, would AM go away? They'd say no, because that's where the talk is. But then they started moving FM to talk.
Yeah. I guess that's good. I never thought about how I never believed AM would go away. I never thought about it that way. Did you ever? Granted, when I was a kid, I never thought radio would go away. I would never thought radio could be replaced.
Aren't they even taking some TV signals and making them like? Wasn't there a whole thing about that? Turning TV signals into radio channels for, public service, emergency services?
I don't know.
There was like a whole thing.
All right, so I don't know where the recorder cut off, but it was definitely somewhere in the midst of us talking about we both believe radio's not going to go away, FM at least, unless your opinion was unless they find a better use for the FM signal.
Yes.
Do you? And this is the last question. We'll be done. Do you find yourself? Do you think at any point you'll change mediums? Like, do you think would you go to Sirius? Would you go to TV? Would you go to internet? Would you go, especially if you're not looking for a job? Would you go to internet radio if it was going to pay you?
If it was going to pay me a living wage that I'm used to making? Yeah, I'll work anywhere.
Have you thought about? So you'll do anything you'll still do the same job despite the medium. Like you have no fear of the internet.
No, my only fear is of cameras.
So you won't go to TV?
I'm not saying I won't go to TV. I just don't think TV will have me. Blue hair and tattoos.
Are you kidding? That's the rage right now.
I'm afraid that they would not. I don't know. I'm afraid that I would not be considered for TV stuff. Because of that.
You think? Come on, like people love.
Yeah, but you don't want your nightly news anchor to be like.
Okay, so that's clearly nightly news. Yeah, serious news. But would you do like the music channel or whatever? Didn't MTV just buy another movie? Didn't?
Oh yeah,
MTV Live now? Like a VJ.
If there was a VJ gig, sure, because they would accept it.
What about entertainment news?
I don't know if Entertainment News would accept it.
Not Entertainment Tonight then, but like...
I'm thinking E! Or Entertainment Tonight, those sort of news magazines that are on TV, I'm not sure if they would take me or not.
Let me actually turn the recorder up so I can see the screen this time.
There we go. Yeah,
I know my phone's not going to get full anytime soon. But, all right, since you're out of work, have you thought about making that jump to podcast?
I have talked actually with my former college radio co-host about starting a podcast.
Okay.
And
do you think you could handle an hour-long talk format?
I mean, have I not gone over and filled your memory card as it is? Could I talk? Yes, I could talk.
I was setting you up for a lot on that talk, but you did a brilliant job this podcast.
Yes, I can talk. I can talk for an hour or half an hour or, whatever. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about in radio... We do a lot of content. Granted, there's nothing that creates content more quickly than radio every day. Original content for the most part. Like the news, you're just regurgitating
something that's already happened.
Yeah,
unless it's breaking news, and then it's still.
Yeah, you're still talking about other things now. You're not creating anything.
Right.
For us, even if we're talking about celebrity news, we're still creating original content. We're making content.
When we make the comment on it, yes, but
Yeah.
there's still the regurgitation part of, this happened. This is your reaction to what happened.
Yeah, but you the good people expand on that. Hopefully the good people are supposed to expand on it. So okay, have you thought about making the jump to YouTube while you're here? While you have the free time? Like start a vlog or...
I've been better with my Snapchat lately. I will say that. That's not quite a vlog.
I'm the worst in Snapchat because I hate taking selfies. And I hate doing video in public. That's why I don't do a lot of social media content because I don't want to create something and have somebody see me do it. Like, I don't want somebody watching me make a video. Like today at the Jeppy Museum, I took a selfie with Superman and I had to look around and make sure nobody saw me taking a selfie with Superman.
Hold just a moment. I have a call. Hey, what's up? Did you hear us say ROFO enough that that's what inspired you to get the chicken? Oh, okay. Well, then I'll see you when you get home. Unless you want to pick me up a BLT while you're there. Oh, okay.
Yeah, of course.
Well, then I'll see you when you get home, and I'll be eating leftovers. All right. Bye, babe.
So, I mean, have you thought about... I mean, there's... all right. So, yeah, my problem... My self-consciousness
I've thought about a lot, but here's where I'm at with it. Is my main focus right now is to find another full-time job in radio.
Okay.
And I've started to think about other formats and other possibilities, and what if this unemployment would continue longer than I would want it to? I would be open to, sure, everything. And that's why I asked you earlier about the website stuff, because I do need to get that going. I just need a simple place with like a couple air checks and, my Twitter feed and, my WordPress linked into it. I don't need a lot big fancy thing, but I need something to say that while I'm not on a station, that this is where you can find out more about me than other than just a Facebook page.
Yeah, the hashtag Where's Joe?
Yeah.
Stuff.
I love my hashtag Where's Joe.
I love it too. I think it was a brilliant idea of you.
It started organically.
Why don't you just... I mean, what's a better way to show a company that you're creating content than to create content?
But that's why I've been continuing with the social media.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm at least now getting to the point where a website is going to be a necessity because of, I'd love to link your podcast episode that I'm on. You can give me permission verbally.
Of course. No, yeah.
No, I want it on record.
I want you on my podcast so you'll tell other people about my podcast and they'll listen to my podcast.
Well, then perfect.
This is a joint thing.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. But then, like
this is literally old school of you're a guest on my podcast to get other people to listen to my podcast.
Lovely. And at this point, hopefully they're not hearing us talk about all that.
But also, I want the people who are already listening to my content to listen to interesting people, which you are interested in. I wish... Like, I'm talking to you today. I'm going to talk to Scott tomorrow. I was trying to get on Sarah Fraser's podcast and do a swapcast with her where we record an episode and then we both release the same episode. And then I was going to probably get Jackson to do a podcast at my place when I get back to Boston. That way I could do an entire month of radio people.
That would be fun.
That was my plan. But now, Sarah, as predicted, Sarah's like, "Oh no, can't have you on my show, Dennis," which I expected. And I shouldn't say it in a negative and such a derogatory way about her because I saw it coming. But she's also busy and she has her podcast is doing much better than mine. But also Scott and I make jokes about how her podcast is not doing well. Like she was doing she did a live episode at the DC Improv in the small room. Whereas like I have friends who made a dinner theater comedy thing, Justin all them, and Rob Mayer and Joe Robinson's Murder Mystery is playing the main stage at DC Improv, which is like 300 seats. Her live podcast is 65 seats. And then
it's still more than mine.
Exactly. And then when she sold those two out, she's like, "We're moving to the bigger room." I was like, "Oh, congratulations, you have 66 listeners," which is very mean of me to say because I didn't say it to her face. It's 10 times worse when I say it behind her back. But I love Sarah, and I want the best for her. I just think she keeps making bad mistakes. Anyway, she's not going to listen to this and hear that. But yes, the TMZ stuff. I want to link those episodes up. I want to do that. I need to get sort of a hub going. And once that hub is going, then I think more YouTube and more stuff like that will follow. And I think I might do this regardless of a job or not. But the difference is when you have a job,
they want that content.
Yeah.
So I would like to give it to them first for money before I give it to the world for free. And it's hard right now because I'm in that weird spot where, you know, either any day now I'm getting a job or who knows when. So.
I mean, you're still, at least you're working part-time, so that's a step in the right direction.
Right. I'm still working part-time and, you know.
At a country station on the Eastern Shore.
Yeah, and I might even have some more part-time stuff coming up soon, so I have that to look forward to. So there's stuff that I'm definitely working on, but it's just a matter of... There's been some things that I've passed up, even in doing social media for other people right now, because I can't do social media for you when I'm trying to do my hustle to get me a gig. Like, if I can't get me something soon, then I'll come back and look at working under other people. But right now, I want to promote myself first.
Okay. Because, to me, you seem very confident that you're going to get a job.
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how scared are you of falling out of radio right now? Because I know I can tell you right now, if Total Traffic Network fired me right now, my fear would be a 10. Because I don't think I could get another job.
In the experience I've had enough offers for part-time work that I think I can still make a go of it, even if something full-time doesn't work out right away.
So, scale of 1 to 10, how fearful are you?
Of falling out of radio completely?
Yeah.
2.
Okay. All right. No, that's great. I want to know, I was hoping to see if you're like, oh yeah, I'm talking a good game, but on the inside, I'm terrified.
No.
You feel confident?
I feel confident.
Good for you.
I feel confident.
All
I feel like, I think it could be good. The question is full-time or not.
Yeah.
When full-time will happen. But as far as radio in general, no, I'm not going anywhere right now, knock on wood. But
okay, good. All right. We filled a memory card. This is enough. Good talk.
Okay,
High
good
five.
talk. High five.
I think I'm going to start ending all the podcasts with a high five now.
Awesome.
That's not my thing. Like, I was going to say that my shtick, like with podcasts, they all have their like special little mahalo or outro or whatever. I feel like mine was going to be, I would say, a different podcast is closing before the end of each podcast, but I forgot to start doing that. So I think I'm going to end them all now with a high five. And there you have it, my interview with Joanna Campbell, or Joe, or Josie, or whatever you want to call her. Whatever you know her as, if you're a fan of Joe and you came to this podcast from that, because this is her first podcast ever. I got to, this makes me so creepy to say, I got to break her podcast cherry. It sounds disgusting. And I feel like some feminists should come through my studio, even though there's an on-air sign that says, do not come in here. I feel like every time I say that, feminists should just kick the door open and punch me right square in the nuts for saying that archaic term. But it means exactly what it means. We know what it means. We all know. So it was great to have her on the podcast, hang out, and to be her first podcast. I think she should start doing a podcast now while she has the time. She should be doing vlogs and podcasts and anything she can do to create content and entertain people, because she's dynamite. She's also super dryly sarcastic, which is instantly why I think we got along, because she just gives you a look when you say something, and it doesn't come across the podcast her sarcastic looks, but they're good. I enjoyed having her on the show. If you want to follow her career, her path, if you want to check out more about her, follow her on Twitter at Radio Josie. Don't follow her in real life. Follow her on Twitter, or follow the hashtag Where's Joe, WHERES Joe, J-O. No E on that, just Joe, J-O. Like the seasoning. My Mid-Atlantic people know the J-O seasoning, the generic Old Bay crab seasoning. Yeah. But yeah, Josie's great. I enjoyed sitting down and talking with her. I hope you enjoy this podcast. I'm going to wrap it up now because I'm going to go watch Game of Thrones. All right? Because, damn Thrones. So good. Like, even last week, it was a slow episode, but still, we got the return of the Hound. We had that guy from Deadwood on the show. All right, I won't go into Game of Thrones talk, because I'll sit here and miss the episode that's starting like 5 minutes. So, guys, thank you so much for downloading this episode and listen to it. I appreciate it. And if you can, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, especially if you're new to the podcast. go ahead and leave a comment, even if it's just on this about this episode and you never listen to another one again. It helps things out. If you're a friend of Josie or a fan of hers, and that's why you came to this podcast, please leave a review. Give it 5 stars if you think it was worth 5 stars. If you don't think it was 5 stars, give it 4. Please don't give me a 1. But the reason I say this is not because I'm narcissistic and I need that kind of feedback. It's because it really, truly does help, right? The more positive reviews that my podcast gets, the more people who are likely to see and hear these interviews with my friends who you're a fan of as well. So please, if you could, subscribe, rate, and leave a comment on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play, however you're listening to this. I appreciate it. And hey, if you want to say, hey, here's a really good podcast with a guy who's motor mouthly, obsessive, and weird, and who has a voice that sounds like, I don't want to brag, a truck full of screaming babies crashing into a nitroglycerin factory, go feel free to tweet that. And again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye.
Time.